Mary Favre and Jason Stockton are suing Mary's brother, Michael Manry, for medical bills and personal belongings.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case 2117, Favre Stockton versus Manry.
Thank you, Kevin. Mr. Manry, this is your sister.
Correct.
And that is her.
Fiance.
And you have a son who is 19.
Yes, Your Honor.
How many other children do you have?
I have 3 altogether.
How old?
One is almost 30, the other one is 18, and then I got the 19-year-old, which one here.
Okay. And your son, who is now 19, is the subject of this case. Who had custody of the children?
I got custody of Dakota now.
When did you get custody of the children?
Only when he was 18 years old.
Do you have those papers, sir?
Yes, I do.
May I see them, please?
Michael produces a document, then hands it to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Okay, so this grants you, sir, legal and physical custody of Dakota Manry until further order of the court. So what this case is about now, and I assume from what I've read, that Dakota has certain special needs.
Yes, ma'am.
And because of his special needs, he is unemployed. Did he finish any sort of a high school?
He graduated.
He graduated from
Yes.
high school?
Yes.
Did he go to a special school?
He went to a regular school, but he was in special education.
And when he graduated, did he graduate when he was living with you?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what your case is about. At some point, according to you, you have a niece. And your niece wanted to have Dakota come and stay with her for a couple of days. You were, at the time, according to your answer, sort of in between residences. You were evicted from one place and going someplace else?
I was in the process of moving. I got my niece to go with me to, ask her if she'll bring me to go get Dakota by my cousin's house. And she said, sure.
Okay. Dakota went to live for a few days, at least, at your niece's house.
No, not live there. No, not live there. No, ma'am.
Well, he was there overnight.
He was over there overnight.
How many nights was he there overnight?
I think about maybe a week. I was supposed to be
Okay.
3 days.
So he was there.
Yeah.
During that time, you, who are his aunt,
Yes, ma'am.
went to your niece's house and you saw Dakota there.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to you, became concerned because, according to you, it looked like he hadn't showered in a week.
He was in dirty clothes. He just looked awful.
So you decided to take him to live with you.
I asked him, I said, do you want him to the house to stay, a little while, where he can eat and all that, because he looked like he hadn't ate either.
Okay. Well, this is what your case is about. You decided to take him, didn't discuss it with his father. During the time he was with you, he had some expenses. You want his father to be responsible for those expenses, and you want his father to return certain of his personal property. That's what the case is about.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. First, let me deal with all things legal. I have an order here dated January 21st, 2021, which grants physical and legal custody of Dakota to his father. Do you have any subsequent order granting you custody or guardianship, is my question.
I have power of attorney.
That is not the same thing. Can I see what they have?
Power of attorney when I didn't give her permission. I got custody. Okay.
Jason hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Okay, this was signed by Dakota, so he's giving you legal power to act on his behalf.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Dakota, by signing this power of attorney, he's saying that I am a whole person, and I give you the right to make medical decisions for me if he can't do them. It's a general power of attorney in case he becomes unable to make decisions on his own. This is an order of custody. You have power of attorney. Power of attorney suggests to me that Dakota wants to emancipate himself from his father, wants someone else to act on his behalf. It becomes a complex question because if Dakota has special needs and if he can't act on his own, and a court has already ruled that his father should have custody of him, either you have a power of attorney and he's emancipated, in which case his father's not responsible for any of his medical bills, or this is invalid because he can't sign a power of attorney because he doesn't have the mental capacity to understand all of the implications of this power of attorney. Now, your nephew was in special classes.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know what the nature of his disabilities are?
Fetal alcohol syndrome.
Is that his diagnosis, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
He had, according to you, after you took him from your niece's house, and you do acknowledge you took him without his father's permission.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
We was not talking, me and him.
Well, it doesn't make any difference if you were
And so
talking or not.
I didn't have his number, and I asked Dakota, I said, text your daddy to let him know you're coming with me. Dakota said, and he showed me where he texted Michael. Now, I don't know if it was on a different Facebook page.
No, it's your responsibility to notify his guardian, who has custody, that you have taken physical custody of him.
Right.
And when did you take physical custody of him? Give me the month, day, and year.
May 20th of this year, 2022.
Now, while you had physical custody of Dakota, you indicate that he had surgery.
Yes, ma'am.
And part of what you want Mr. Manry to pay for is the ambulance bill. What kind of surgery did he have?
Brain surgery, and he had a feeding tube put in him.
Just a second. What caused you to take him to a hospital or to a doctor?
Your Honor, when he arrived at the house on the 20th, he had very bad slurred speech, and his balance was completely off. He was falling over. Your Honor, it was like he was a drunken man.
Let me go back to you for a second, sir. While Dakota was with you in the months just prior to May, did you notice Dakota having difficulty in his gait?
Not like he was explaining to me, I was going overboard.
No, did you?
But his balance was off, okay.
Did you inquire? Did you take him to the doctor?
I did. I took him, actually, right after I got him.
So you saw that balance was off a while ago.
When I noticed that he had headaches, all right, because his dream, thanks to me, was wrestling. He loves wrestling. I put him in wrestling. I talked to the promoters, and I did that for him. But when I seen every time he got body slammed, you know, and this and that, I had to take him out of it. I got concerned because he was complaining of headaches. So I made him an appointment, and I waited for a referral. Well, when the referral came in, my kid was kidnapped.
So he never actually saw the second doctor?
No.
Okay. Do you have any records?
Well, I couldn't get the records. I tried to get them.
Once something went wrong, my kid died doing surgery. I couldn't even be there for him and all that. Anything could have happened.
Just a second. I'm following you, sir. Now, when did you take him for this brain surgery?
I took him the first week of June. I took him to do a CAT scan. And as soon as she did that, we went to the hospital. We didn't leave the hospital. They put him in the ER. And from the ER, we went to Florence, Alabama. And then the surgeons there couldn't do it because it was so big.
What was so big?
Your Honor,
brain.
they found a mass the size of a grapefruit. The first week, Dakota came to stay with us after we noticed the balance issues and the slurred speech. She took him to doctor who diagnosed him with being severely malnutritioned. Your Honor, when he came to my house, his
Liar.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. Your Honor, sorry. My apologies.
his leg was no bigger around than my wrist.
I got it. Mr. Manry, everything has to be put in perspective. You had a lot of things going on. And if Mr. Stockton's reporting to me is accurate, even though there might be some bad feeling of the way your sister and her fiancé took physical custody of Dakota, you really have to be in a position to say thank you to them, because you, for whatever reason, not for lack of trying, nobody is suggesting for lack of trying, you did try to take him to a doctor, you did see that there were things wrong with him. I understand that it's not always that easy to get the right specialist to get involved in this kind of surgery, but you really have to take a breath. And I assume it's accurate, because I cannot assume that anybody would perform brain surgery on a child that was not necessary. That
Okay, Your Honor, why she couldn't call me
she
instead
should,
of calling
just a
the mother?
second, just a second. Your sister should have called you and told you that Dakota was going into the hospital to have surgery. That would have been
Your
the
Honor,
nice
she
thing to
did.
do. Did you do that?
She did.
No, she did not.
She called
I called
their
my mama.
mother.
Well, calling your mother.
His phone was disconnected. I did not have the new number until he called me or texted me with a bunch of Drama. That's when I got his
You took
number.
my kid from me. You kidnapped my son no matter what.
Mr. Manry, what I want you to do is just take a breath for a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
Michael paces beside the defendant's table. Caption coming up.
Dakota kept texting me, you know, he kept on like video chatting me and everything. And then all of a sudden, like a light switch, he changed and everything. The boy's mind's being poisoned by Mary and
No,
Daisy.
so far, Mr. Manry, you're not losing this case, so I don't know what you're agitated about.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jason, Mary, and Michael.
Mary Favre and Jason Stockton claim Mary's brother, Michael Manry, owes for medical bills and personal belongings. Michael is countersuing, saying they illegally took his son from his custody.
Mr. Manry, Dakota was only at your niece's house for a short while. You already told me that when he came to you, his gate was off. So right before he went to stay for a couple of days at your niece's house, was his speech slurring?
No, he always had a speech impairment because of the disability, but his speech was not slurred at all. That is a lie. Him having the skinny arms and all, that's all
Okay,
a lie.
I'm not talking about skinny arms. I'm talking about his slurred speech. What I was saying to you, Mr. Manry, is that I don't think there are any bad guys here. I don't think that you're a bad guy. And I don't think that your sister and her fiancé meant any harm when they saw a situation that they thought was dangerous. And as it turned out, they were able to get him seriously needed medical care. That doesn't mean it was all done right. But what you're asking for is to be compensated by the defendant for the cost of the ambulance bill that you incurred. Now, this power of attorney was signed by Dakota, if in fact he had capacity to sign this power of attorney. It was done 2 weeks after his first surgery. So up until that time, even if I could construe this as a valid document, his father had legal and physical custody of Dakota. And I assume that's because he had special needs and is unable to live on his own. Is your son able to live on his own?
No, he never will.
Okay, so that's what I assume as a result of this order. If you want this order changed, you have to go back to the court in Mississippi. You have to be declared his guardian.
Your Honor, we did not want to be declared his guardian. The reason the POA came about to start with, during the entire surgical,
Your Honor, can I say something?
the father was aware of it, so was the mother. The mother was actually present at most all of the appointments.
It doesn't matter. The mother doesn't have custody, legal or
But
physical.
we were under the impression, and were told she did, that he only had a temporary custody. So she showed up to say she had to sign all the documents. She was going to do this. She was going to do this. She was going to do this.
Did she sign the documents?
She signed some. Then under social services directions, Mary was informed she should go after a power of attorney. It was discussed with both Dakota and her.
It may be. That's not a lawyer. That's bad advice. Now, just before I get to the issue of clothing, property, whatever he has that's at your house, and where it should go from here, your first stop is to go back to the court in Mississippi that issued this order.
Yes, ma'am.
And say to them, I need Dakota's law guardian. He'll be appointed a guardian for himself, independent of you, and they will interview him and they will do certain evaluations of him and determine where it is that he wants to live. But you have to do that in court. You can't do that ad hoc because you relied on his mother's statements that she had the authority to sign off on these things. She did not until this is changed. And if you want to change it, you are free to go in and try, and then Dakota will be interviewed and seen by a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and he'll have a medical evaluation and determine whether or not he is a person who actually requires guardianship. And if he requires guardianship, you can petition for that, and you'll have a trial. This is not that trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Did Dakota have Medicare?
Medicaid.
He had Medicaid.
That would pay for the ambulance ride.
Yeah, I just want to know if he had Medicaid. He did.
I did give them the Medicaid number, and they keep sending me a bill, and I called them, and they said because it's a different state, it's not covered.
It doesn't matter. Tell him to send their bills to his father. Tell them that you do not have custody or guardianship of this child. His father has custody, guardianship, and this bill is not yours.
The bill is going to Dakota. They're going after Dakota for it. His Medicaid didn't pay for it.
They may be going after Dakota for it. They will be very smart seeking payment from people who can pay them, which is his parents. Right now, you're not legally responsible to pay for his ambulance bill. The only person who might be legally responsible for it is his father, and that will be up to the ambulance company to do. This is not your responsibility at all. So discount the ambulance bill. Next to Dakota's things, you want property that he has in his father's house. So let me go back to you with regard to my statement to you 4 minutes ago. You have to have this custody order modified. You have to go back to the same court that issued a legal and physical custody order of Dakota to his father and say, we would like guardianship of him. He wants to stay with us. He's 19 years old. He will be interviewed. He'll be analyzed. And if at the end of the day you get guardianship of Dakota, then his father may or may not turn over whatever property he has. Dakota's never worked. So whatever property he has was either purchased or given to him by either his mother or his father or other relatives.
A lot of it was his mom that paid for the stuff.
I don't know that.
No, the bottom line is why all this ball down through yonder.
So far, Mr. Manry, you're not losing this case, so I don't know what you're agitated about. You're not losing. You're not losing. What I'm telling the plaintiffs is that if they think that they can provide a more pleasant, stable environment for Dakota, they have the right to petition for guardianship of him. Now, it would be in Dakota's best interest long-term if he were to have contact with both his mother and his father. Contact. I'm not saying live with. Mother, father, and his aunt, and his soon-to-be uncle, as soon as you make up your mind and give her a ring. It's in his best interest. He needs the largest community that he can.
I agree.
Okay, we're going to stop throwing barbs because that only serves to inflame already raw emotions.
Caption, coming up.
I want you to say, I am angry that I wasn't consulted in this massive surgery that your son had, but I'm grateful that it was done, because if it wasn't done, in all probability, he wouldn't be here. You just have to think about that.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jason, Mary, and Michael.
Mary Favre and Jason Stockton have accused Mary's brother, Michael Manry, of owing for an ambulance bill. Michael claims Mary and Jason took his son without his permission.
What I'm telling you is a very simple procedural thing where you have to go. You can't sue him for the return of Dakota's things unless you have guardianship of Dakota.
Understood.
Because he already is the subject of a recent order of custody from a court. That's what you have to have. You can take that bill from the ambulance service, put it in an envelope, we'll get you the address, and that's where that goes. That's his father, who is his legal parent under this order. So send that bill to them so you don't have to worry about that bill. As far as his property is concerned, that has to go along with an order of custody or guardianship, and that's something that you should do. But, Mr. Manry, I am not making a decision with regard to his custody or not. What I'm asking you is, until a court reviews whatever orders they're going to make with regard to custody and guardianship, first, I know you may be angry, but they probably saved his life by getting him to the doctor that they did. And if they removed a massive tumor from his brain, you should say, thank you for doing that, because it was a month after he was living with you. Someone else took your son and saved his life. And for that, at least, you have to be grateful. You can be angry. You can be angry that you didn't get it done before. You can be angry that somebody else did it without consulting you. You can be angry at all of those things. But at the same time, you have to feel grateful that it was done.
There wasn't no reason they kidnapped my son.
Okay. Mr. Manry, you keep going back to the same song.
I was worried about
You keep going back to the same song. And what I'm saying to you is, their next stop, if Dakota wants to live with them, and he's right now over 19 years old, is to the court who issued the order to modify that order. All I'm saying to you is, I want you to say, I am angry that I wasn't consulted or didn't participate in this massive surgery that your son had. But I'm grateful that it was done, because if it wasn't done, in all probability, he wouldn't be here. You just have to think about that. What I'm telling you is you have to love your child more than you, at this moment, dislike your sister and her fiance, because they were able to take control of a situation and get your child fixed. So is Dakota, just for my own, is Dakota angry with his father?
He's angry that his father won't return any of his wrestling. He is correct. He is a huge wrestling fanatic.
Okay. What particularly does he want? He wants his wrestling?
He wants his wrestling belts. They have replica belts that were made. He wanted his PlayStation 4 and the wrestling game.
PlayStation 4, I'm not interested in that. He wants his wrestling belts.
Yes, ma'am.
Yana, can I show you something right quick on my phone? Dakota kept texting me, you know, he kept on like video chatting me and everything. And then all of a sudden, like a light switch, it changed and everything. The boy's mind's being poisoned by Mary and Jason.
What I'm telling you, Mr. Manry, that's for another court and another day. When Dakota has a lawyer, you may have a lawyer to modify this custody order. Right now, he would like his wrestling belts.
Oh, I want my son to come home.
Okay, then I strongly urge you to go to the court, file a petition against them for custodial interference, or you go to court and file an application for guardianship of Dakota, which is a much more positive thing to do, and let a court that has the social work services, the psychiatric services, evaluate Dakota and figure out in whose best interests are we supposed to place faith. And I think if he is a thinking young man, and you told me that he is because he wants these things that are important to him, he should be able to have a say with whom he lives. Now, you have my ruling. Your next stop, folks, is to modify the order of the court in Mississippi that gave his father custody, physical and legal custody of him. You have to petition for guardianship. That's your next step. So, in that regard, your case is dismissed. Send the ambulance bill to his father.
They got a countersuit.
We're done.
Your
Yeah,
Honor.
I'm not hearing it, sir.
Okay.
Outside the courtroom, Michael, then Mary.
I did everything I can for my kids, and
My brother, he said nothing but lies.
when somebody takes your kid without your permission,
But, you know, that's him. I mean, that's what he does.
you don't know where they're at, and you're going crazy because you don't know where your kid's at, that's kidnapping.
I should get a thank you out of it, but he's not going to do that.
I want my son to come home to his daddy because I love him very much. That's my son.
It's about him. It's not about her. It's not about her and her brother. It's not about me and her brother.
My son, I love him. I'd do anything in the world for him.
It's about Dakota.
In her chambers, Judy with Sarah.
So you didn't listen to the defendant's counterclaim back there for emotional distress for, I believe it was $3,500. I would have given that to him. I don't think anyone was acting maliciously in this case. Like you said to the father, he should be grateful that his son is alive and his sister took action when he might have been stumbling a little bit. But that's what that cause of action is for, when someone takes an action that was legally incorrect. And here, the plaintiffs had no legal right to take him to get that surgery. I agree that he should have had it and it all came from a good place. However, when you take an action that causes somebody else such severe emotional distress, and I would consider taking someone else's child in for the riskiest surgery that probably exists, qualifies as causing some severe emotional distress. So I probably would have awarded him that if I was ruling.
Well, so let me give you the reason that I didn't bother to hear it. I think the aunt and her fiance had nothing but pure motives in taking this 19-year-old who they say appeared to be malnourished and they say was diagnosed as being malnourished, which is possible, and it's possible that it was all related to this brain tumor that he clearly had that was impairing his stability, and he was with his father for a year while this tumor was growing. I don't think that they had malicious intent.
Neither do I.
And I think that but for their actions, this 19-year-old boy probably would be dead. If they took out the tumor that was the size of a grapefruit, I would say 6 months later or 8 months later, there's a strong probability that would affect the optic nerve, it affect the carotid artery, and gone. So although I could understand his annoyance, from the time they went to live with him until his surgery was a month. And I actually don't believe that this father didn't know where he was for a month, because they evidently have a living mother who they're both in touch with. He was moving around, phone disconnected. At the hospital, the mother showed up. She said, I can sign the documents. Well, you know, you're involved in major surgery for a child. Your focus is not on your brother, who did not take care of business for a year. So I'm going to leave that up to a family court judge to determine who should have custody, and I probably guarantee you that custody will remain with his aunt, because that's what Dakota wants. Father may be angry, but that's what's going to happen. I have no doubt that the father loves him. He did not take good care of him for the year.
Sure.
And so I wasn't going to reward that by giving him any money against these people who had nothing but the child's best interests, when for a year he really didn't take care of business with his son. And that's why I didn't hear his case for emotional distress.
Understood. Thank you.
Title: Judy Justice.
Are you having a family dispute? Go to judyjustice.tv's sister, Kelvis Bentley, for moving costs.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 2106, Bentley versus Bentley.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Miss Bentley, this is your sister.
Yes.
The case is relatively simple. Your mom passed away a couple of years ago. There was a house full of furniture that belonged to your mother. According to what I've read, and this is broad strokes, according to what I read, your sister, what's your first name?
Kelvis.
Put your mother's property in a storage unit.
Excuse me, it was already in storage.
Who had put it into storage?
My mom put it in storage. My mom was terminally ill, and she put it in storage 3 months before she passed away.
Is that correct?
Yes.
On what date did your mom pass?
November the 8th, 2018.
So it would have been in storage since August of 2018.
Correct.
From August till November, who paid for the storage unit?
I have been paying it.
And how much is it every month?
Right now it's $209, but it was $182 in the beginning.
But about $200 a month, and it's been 3 years.
Yes, I've been paying that every month.
This is what your case is about. You say that you gave your sister $900 for the purpose of traveling, getting your mother's things out of storage so that you could all disperse your mother's property.
Yes, but the amount is incorrect.
What's the amount?
I gave her $800.
Okay, $800.
Yes.
In order to get your mother's furniture to where you live, so that you could separate the furniture and the family could take what they wanted or needed of the property, correct?
That's correct.
Good. Then COVID struck, your sister didn't use that money to travel, to hire truckers, to move the furniture, and you want that money back.
Yes, that's correct.
That's the whole case. Okay. Just for my own information, you do expect when that furniture arrives to be one of the beneficiaries of that furniture. That's what your sister says. She says that that's the plan once it all comes back.
That's not correct. I didn't want anything out of the storage but pictures.
Pictures?
Yeah.
Well, pictures of things.
Yes, that's it.
Pictures of what?
There's a picture of me and my mother. That's all I wanted.
Did you tell that to your sister?
Yes, I did.
Did she?
No.
How many sisters are there?
It's only 2 of us now. It was 4, 2 deceased.
Did your mother have any other property?
My mother has a whole 2-bedroom home in the storage. She has furniture, everything.
Other than furniture?
No. Clothes, pictures, yes, things like that, yes.
Is there any property in that storage unit that you want?
Well, I'm holding her stuff because it's sentimental. I mean, I can get it, I wouldn't mind having it, but it's really, she got a lot of sentimental stuff in there, so that's why I've been paying.
Furniture?
Yes, furniture, clothes.
Furniture.
Pictures, everything,
Okay.
Yes.
How far away is the storage unit from where you live?
It's in Charlotte, North Carolina.
How far away?
10-hour drive. We stay in Michigan, and the storage is in North Carolina, Charlotte.
Anybody that you know live there close to the storage unit?
My aunt and my cousin does.
And this picture that you want, do you know where it is?
It's in the photo album with the rest of the pictures.
And other than that one picture in a photo album, you don't want anything else, any of the other property?
No.
You two are the heirs, is that right?
We have a brother.
Does he have, as far as you know, any interest in any of your mother's property?
No. When my mom passed, it was me, my niece, and my older brother there at the time of death. And so he got everything he wanted out, and he gave me the key because I was the next to older one because she wasn't there. So he was like, so y'all do what y'all want to do with it. And so that's when I told her, I'll pay it until we go get it.
You said, I'll pay for the storage unit until we go and get it.
Yes.
Okay, now I'd like you to tell me about this money that she gave you. Do you remember when she gave you the $800?
She gave me the money, I want to say, May of 2020.
And can you tell me what the conversation was when she gave you the money?
Here is some money to go towards going to get the things, And so I told her, well, I'll find a way to go get it. I didn't never give her a designated time, but during that time, that was COVID, so no one was able to go. And so I was gonna go this year because I just signed the papers to go and go get the stuff, but no one still was able to go. She never once said that this was money loaned to go get it.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, she had designated it to go and get the property.
Yes.
And you didn't use it to go and get the property.
I used it towards the storage.
No.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No.
The answer is no.
No.
So that's what her complaint is, that it wasn't used for its intended purpose, which was to go rent a truck, movers, and bring the property to where you both live. Okay, and she did give you $800.
Yes.
Okay, and Ms. Bentley, you're prepared to sign a document that indicates that the only property you want from storage is a photograph of you and your mother that's in a photo album.
Yes.
That you want nothing else, that everything else belongs to either your sister or any other heirs that have a legitimate claim on any of that property, but you want nothing else.
That's fine.
Reasonable?
Fine.
Perfect. I'm entering a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800 with the proviso that the plaintiff will, in fact, sign that document indicating she wants nothing but one photograph from the storage unit.
I gave her $150 back.
Did she give you $150 back?
She did give me $150 back.
You paid her back. So she goes, you're $650. Judgment for the plaintiff, $650. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Shatanya.
It was my mother's stuff. I just was trying to get the stuff. It was in storage for long enough.
We haven't talked in a whole year.
We're not close.
You know, all she wanted is the picture. I give her a picture.
At least I got what I wanted.
We still sisters, still love her.
In chambers, Judy and Sarah.
Those look like two nice sisters. And I think part of that problem is the intervention of COVID, which really turned everybody's life upside down.
Especially family units.
Family units, because I think that was the intention, that she was going to pay for it to all be brought up, use that money, and then they would go through the property and decide who wanted what and what would be disposed of. It's not an egregious case of misappropriation of funds.
All well-intentioned, I think.
Well-intentioned. I thought it was a sweet case.
Kevin.
Case 2111, Banks versus Mitchell. All parties, please step forward.
Queen Vanessa Banks is suing her former friend, Fulton Mitchell, for an unpaid loan and stolen money.
Miss Banks, what kind of work do you do?
I'm a city contractor for the city and county of San Francisco.
How long have you been working for the city of San Francisco?
30 years.
You a full-time employee?
No, I'm a contractor, so I'm used as needed.
Well, in the last month, how many days have you worked?
Like around 40 hours the whole month.
How do you support yourself?
I'm on disability.
How long have you been on disability?
Since roughly like around February of 2022.
When you applied for disability, were you originally rejected or did they accept your claim?
I was rejected 3 times, actually.
So when you started collecting in February of 2022, you got a big check for back disability.
Yes, ma'am.
I know my business. How much of a check did you get?
I got $7,000 the first time, and they just submitted me like $8,000 a month or 2 ago, and then there are some more coming. It ain't all came yet.
They advised you, because you were rejected, as you said, 2 or 3 times, that there would be a total amount coming to you. You got a letter from the administration.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And what is the total amount that they told you you would be receiving in increments?
I think it was like $18,000.
And you had a lawyer at the appeal.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when you applied for disability, did you say that there was no kind of work that you could do?
Caption. Coming up.
I'm jaundiced. I know that people put money in somebody else's bank when they want to hide it from the government, creditors, a spouse looking for support, all what I would call nefarious reasons to put money in somebody else's bank.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Queen and Fulton.
Queen Vanessa Banks claims her former friend, Fulton Mitchell, stole money from their shared bank account.
Now, when you applied for disability, did you say that there was no kind of work that you could do?
Well, actually...
No, not actually. They're giving you $18,000. They said that they should have taken your case when you first applied for disability. So they had to have found that you could not hold gainful employment. That's what it's all about when you get federal disability.
Right.
Right. So I want to know what this 40 hours a month that you worked last month as an independent contractor. What kind of independent contractor were you?
I actually sit on Zooms, and I am a consultant, so I'm on Zooms most of the time.
And when you're not on Zooms, where are you?
At home.
What do you consult about?
I am an urban consultant, so I work with various people that's trying to find out about urban living and mental health, basically working around mental health.
How are you paid?
They might mail a
No,
check.
not might.
They mail a check.
What do you do with that check?
I usually cash it at a store in the community.
You cash it. What is your hourly wage?
As a consultant,
Yeah.
I'm usually paid like $130 an hour.
And what's the amount of money you get from disability a month, not counting these extra payments for when they denied you disability?
$1,000.
So you get $1,000 a month plus $130 an hour times the last month you said was 40 hours. So you make $4,000 or $5,000 a month from your consulting job for the city.
No way.
Well, am I correct, Whitney, that Ms. Banks said that she worked about 40 hours last month?
Can I explain something? Not
No.
all.
No.
She said around 40 hours the whole month.
Okay. Would you tell me what she says she earns an hour?
It's usually $130 an hour.
$5,200. And when you get the checks for these consulting things, you take them and you cash them. That's either a yes or a no. Do you work as a sole independent contractor, or do you have an LLC or a corporation?
No, ma'am.
So the checks are made out to you.
Yes, ma'am.
As an independent contractor.
Yes, ma'am.
You have to pay your own taxes. So you're 1099 from all these people?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you declare on your taxes last year?
I didn't file taxes last year, ma'am.
Why not? You said you've been working in this capacity on and off for 30 years.
Because,
for the
ma'am,
city.
where I come from, a lot of the work is volunteer work considered, and you are given a stipend. And some of the work I do, sometimes I don't even get paid, but I still do the work.
Listen, you know exactly where I'm going. We're two savvy people. When you cash those checks, because this is what the case is about, for some reason, because I'm trying to figure out why somebody puts money into somebody else's bank account, because part of this case is about that. You and Mr. Mitchell became friends, maybe a little bit more than friends, I don't know. At some point, according to you, you gave him money to hold in his bank account because his bank account was closer to where you are and you didn't want to go on two buses to where your bank was. Am I getting that right? Is that what you...
No, ma'am.
Let's see. I'm telling you why I made these inquiries to you. I was struggling to find a way to get access to my money. I always took the bus to the bank, but during COVID, public transportation shut down. It was completely unreliable, and I was in a bind. This is what you write. When Fulton heard about my problem, he offered to hold my money for me in his bank. He said that he didn't keep any money in that account, so it would be perfect, because his bank was right where I worked. I only know of several reasons why strangers put money in somebody else's account. You know, I may have an account with Sarah. I may have an account with one of my other grandchildren. I have an account with my husband. But I've had a best friend for 70 years, and another best friend for 30 years. And I would never think of putting money in their bank account because there are banks all over the place. I'm just telling you, you know, I'm jaundiced. I know that people put money in somebody else's bank when they want to hide it, when they want to hide it from the government, creditors, a spouse looking for support, a spouse looking for alimony, a contractor who has a judgment against them. All what I would call nefarious reasons to put money in somebody else's bank. But let us say that you did put money in this bank account, and you say that money was withdrawn. Your money was withdrawn from that account to pay his taxes. Is that what you're alleging?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How much was withdrawn from his account that only his name was on? Or was your name on it too?
My name is on it too.
Oh, there we go. Now I can understand it, why you might owe taxes. I don't know anything about his business, but I can certainly understand that you might. Did you receive notice that the IRS took money out of this bank account, which was then a joint bank account?
No, I did not.
So if her name was on it, it was a joint account.
It was not. It was my account, and I added her name to my
That's okay. That makes it a joint account.
Yes.
Okay, well, I didn't have that information in here because joint account is absolutely different. Joint account means that the money belongs to both of you. Now, what makes you think that the money that was taken out of the account was to pay his taxes?
Because I have proof.
I'd like to see it.
Queen hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
What account is this? Whose money is that?
Mine.
Explain that to me. This is a deposit here for $988.68. What is that?
That's when the pandemic hit and the struggles started getting hard trying to get money. And being that me and him was business partners, that's when he decided to try to help me out.
You know, I neither have the time or the interest to hear about the nuances of this stuff because I don't have the wherewithal, either emotionally or structurally, to figure out the whole scam. I haven't figured it all out yet, but I'm beginning to figure it out. So you deposited $988 and then withdrew at some point in May. That was on June 9th. I don't have the rest of it here, but you withdrew $1,600 from that account on May 25th. Do you remember what that was for?
May 25th?
Yeah, May 25th, $1,600. June 3rd, tax levy, $2,711.
The May 25th is because that's my daughter's birthday, and I spent time with my daughter. And then the June 3rd tax levy is why I'm here with you today.
What kind of business were you in together with the defendant?
You want me to answer that?
No, you answer it. What
type of business were you together? He works for the city and county. I'm a grassroots organizer, so I work within his organization so that we can do things together.
That's not true.
Your Honor, I have proof. I do work with his organization. I'm putting on a Halloween event.
I don't care.
His logo
Let's understand each other. I don't care because something doesn't smell right for me. And if something doesn't smell right with this nose, it's usually accurate. Usually.
Caption, coming up.
You said you took out $1,000. When and for what purpose?
I took out the $1,000 and I gave it to Miss Banks.
That's not what you said.
What did I say, Miss Judy?
It's not what you said. It's not what you swore to.
Queen grins. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Queen and Fulton.
Queen Vanessa Banks is suing her former friend, Fulton Mitchell, for an unpaid loan and stolen money.
When someone puts money in somebody else's bank account, it's because they're trying to somehow shield that money from some sort of scrutiny. If your only source of income, which you would like me to believe, is this $1,000 from disability and the $18,000 that you're going to get for retroactive disability.
She was on some other kind of services also. I don't know whether it was SSI or something. When she first came to me, she wanted me to hold the money and put it in my account because she didn't want it to mess up her money.
That's not true. That's not true, Your Honor. He started helping me in 2019. In 2020, he asked me for a loan to help one of his daughters of $1,900. We were both trying to start up a business. We didn't know the pandemic was going to come, Your Honor. We was trying to start up a business.
I've never tried to start up a business.
Just a second.
Your Honor, I got proof because he lying to you.
Just a second. I don't care that you were starting a business. It doesn't make any difference to me. It really doesn't make any difference to me. You had a joint account, and the IRS took money out of that joint account. Was that your tax debt?
I don't know.
The answer is you don't know. Okay, well, this says that it was the levy from California Franchise Tax Board was against Fulton W. Mitchell.
That's me.
That's what it's...
I asked her to show me that. I said, prove it to me. No, she never showed me that ever.
Okay, so my question to you is, sir, because of course you have to pay your own taxes.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? You would acknowledge that this bank account had only her funds in it?
No, it had my funds in there, too.
Show me any deposits that you made into this account.
Well, I had money in there way before I put her money into my account. It's been in my account for over 10, 15 years.
What I want to see, Mr. Fulton,
yes,
is any place where you deposited $27.11, because that's what they took out.
No, I didn't deposit $27.11 into that account.
Ever?
No.
Okay, good. This responsibility is yours. You would acknowledge that
Yes.
it's yours?
Yes.
Okay, so that's $2,700, which you in fact owe her. She probably owes IRS or the state of California more money because I'm not sure that they know where all this money is going. Did you take any other money out of that account?
No, ma'am.
Yes, you did. You took out $1,000. You acknowledge
Well, I
you took
gave
out
it-
$1,000 by accident, you said, sir, and you said you paid it back.
She got it back.
Okay, well
That's
then
not
don't
true,
say,
Your Honor.
shh, don't speak. Got into enough trouble, right, so far? You said you took out $1,000. When and for what purpose?
I took out the $1,000 and I gave it to Ms. Banks.
That's not what you said.
What did I say, Ms. Judy?
It's not what you said. It's not what you swore to. You said, there was a time when I accidentally withdrew $1,000 from the account that belonged to Vanessa, but I paid her back in June 2022.
There you go.
I said, what do you mean, there you go? I said, when did you take money out of her account?
That was the only time I took the money out.
Well, tell me about it.
Vanessa started harassing me. She started showing up to my job and just doing all kind of stuff, so I was just trying to get rid of her.
And?
So I took the money out and gave it to her, and I'm...
Just a second. Put your hand down. Don't you understand what you signed?
Yeah.
You said I accidentally took money out of her account, but then I gave it back to her because if you accidentally took it out, it means it didn't belong to you. When did you accidentally take it out, and when did you give it back to her?
I took out the money, and the money was given to her. That was it. That was it. I was done with it.
Well-
I was done with her. I was done with all of it.
There was a time when I accidentally withdrew $1,000 from the account that belonged to Vanessa, but I paid that back in June 2022.
Those words are mixed up a little bit there.
That's what I read. That's your answer, sir. As for the rest of the money she claims I owe her, it's all a bunch of lies. I never took a $1,900 loan and don't owe money for the IRS. Well, you do owe money for the IRS because one of the things I think that everybody has to pay is their own tax levy and their own child support. You would acknowledge that.
I agree.
Okay, tell me about this loan of $1,900, Ms. Banks.
Mr. Mitchell had fell into a lot of hardship in the pandemic, and he came to me and asked me, could I loan him $1,900 to help out one of his daughters? And I gave it to him, and he agreed to pay it back, and we was just like trying to have no business together. So, and I thought he was a friend.
Show me proof that you gave him $1,900.
It was cash, Your Honor. The $1,000 he's saying he handed me back in June, that was from the $1,900.
I'm not following you, madam. Are you saying that he in total owed you, forget the IRS, $2,900, $1,000 that he took in 19?
He asked for $1,900
Never asked
cash.
you for $1,900.
I gave him $1,900 in cash.
Not true.
Then he paid me back $1,000 in June of 2022.
You have money in my account. Why would I ask you for $1,900? I would just go in there and grab it. That makes no sense.
Just a second. Why are you talking to her?
I'm sorry.
Where do you think you are?
I'm sorry. I apologize. She's never given me no $1,900. She's never given me anything in cash, period, ever.
I have proof.
I'm willing to look at it.
Yes, I told him that I needed to move forward with it, and if he don't give me what I need, I'll put it in writing. So
Well,
we
you
had
may
a
put it in
talk.
writing. Well, you sent this to him, and it says acknowledgement of monetary debt in the amount of $4,600. You typed this up, and he never signed it.
No, he never signed it.
Well, then it's meaningless. You can type up anything. I can type up something that says I own all of Sarah's real estate. If she doesn't sign it, I don't own anything.
Well, that's what
Okay.
$1,000 came from, because he was trying to cover that.
Yeah. You know, somehow I think I'm dealing with, I'm not sure about one or two people who've managed to master the system. And
No, not at all. I've never-
well, I don't know.
I've never
I don't
seen
know.
the system
All I
for
know
nothing.
is
I
if
worked
somebody
for
is
over
working.
25 years
Just
for
a
the
second.
city and county.
Just a second. There's a reason why she asked to be added to your bank account. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't look as if you're a foolish man. What was the reason she gave you for wanting to have a bank account where you were the primary on that bank account? What was the reason she gave you?
She gave me the reason that she didn't want it to mess up her income.
That's not true.
Just a second. So she said, I don't want it to
She said she didn't want to put it in her name because she didn't want to mess up her income that she had coming in.
Her income from what?
Some kind of assistance. I'm not sure exactly
Yeah.
what it was.
Whatever. Anyway, got a nice windfall, $18,000. By the way, I have one other question for you. In your complaint, which you read and signed and swore to, Fulton heard about my problems with money and where to put it, and he offered to hold my money in his account. He said he doesn't keep any money in there, so it would be perfect. Because his bank was right where I worked. Where was his bank and where do you work?
I work in the community that I was born and raised in, which is Bayview.
Okay, I'm not going to get a straight answer. You owe her for her tax debt, nothing else, $2,700.
This court is adjourned.
That's it, you're done.
I'll watch her like every day.
It was fair.
I'm thankful that she saw what it was for what it was.
You know, she asked me to put some money in the account for her. I did.
I never had to harass him. We were business partners for 2 or 3 years.
I don't know if it was a business agreement or not.
Because I told him I want my money.
I'm just happy it's over with.
You know what I was thinking about? I was thinking that I wouldn't have had that information about Social Security disability unless Poppy was an administrative law judge with Social Security 40 years ago. And I remember exactly what the drill was. File, you rejected, you file, you rejected, and finally you have to hire a lawyer, and the lawyer gets a big chunk of the relief, and you get all your back payments. So I have a feeling I was dealing with two people who had a substantial skill set in how to negotiate and suck every dollar from the system, whether it was deserved or not.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. Audrey Stevens is suing her neighbor, Heather Stevens, for vet bills and pain and suffering after a dog attack.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case 2139, Stevens versus Stevens.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Although your names sound the same, they're spelled differently, and you are clearly not related based upon this case. You live in the same general area.
Yes.
Okay. Could you step up?
A young woman.
Tell me your name.
Emily Farringer.
This is your daughter.
Yes.
How long have you been living in your house?
8.5 years.
How old are you?
22.
Tell me what you do.
I work at a bakery right now, and I'm a full-time college student.
Where do you go to school?
Idaho State University.
You were out walking the family dog.
Yes.
Family has one dog?
Just one, yeah.
What kind of dog?
It's a miniature schnauzer.
Weighs about 10, 12 pounds?
Yeah, around there, 15-ish.
How old is the dog?
He is 9.
You've had him since he was a puppy?
Yes.
This case has to do with injuries that your dog sustained.
Yes.
And the payment of vet bills by the defendant, who you allege has 2 dogs unleashed that attacked your dog while you were walking.
Correct.
Him.
Just one dog. One dog.
One.
One dog attacked our dog.
You have a pit bull?
Yes, ma'am.
What color?
White and brown.
How old?
She's 5.
Is that the only dog you have?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Tell me what date you were walking the dog that this incident happened.
July 26, 2021.
Time.
Around 8 p.m.
Dark?
No.
Still light out?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you walking in the neighborhood?
I was walking down the sidewalk, and I passed the defendant's house, and I reached the end of the sidewalk.
Your dog's name is what?
Jax.
On a leash?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you always walk the dog on a leash?
We do.
Tell me what happened.
I was walking down the sidewalk, and I reached the end of the sidewalk. I was about to cross the street, and...
Do you have a picture, a diagram?
I do. I
of where
have a
this
diagram.
happened? May I see it, please? Oh, okay. There it is. Would you go over to the diagram so that you can point directly and I can understand where this happened?
A map of the street corner.
I was standing right here, and I noticed the dog come up on my left side.
On your left side?
Yes.
Did you notice from where the dog came?
It seemed to be out in the street when it approached me.
So it didn't come from the defendant's house, it came from the street?
Yes. It had been on the left-hand side of me. And then the pit bull latched onto my dog on its leg.
What color pit bull?
Brown and white.
Was there any fighting or a scuffle before?
No, ma'am. It just ran up to me, and it latched onto my dog's leg, and it picked my dog up and was yanking it around in the air. And it was very loud, and my dog was squealing a lot and crying out very loudly, so I yanked his leash so that I didn't have to bend down and get hurt myself. And I picked him up, and I ran back.
So you yanked him up by his leash?
I did.
Okay. Did he have what kind of a collar on? A regular collar or one of those harnesses?
We have both, so I'm not sure which one he was wearing at that time, but I believe he was wearing the collar.
Just the collar?
Yes.
So you lifted him up by the collar?
Yes.
Did you see where the dog went?
I do not remember. I think the pit bull ran back into the defendant's household.
But you're not sure?
I'm not sure.
What did you do next?
We took the dog to the animal hospital.
Okay. You can go back now.
Emily rejoins Audrey at the plaintiff's table.
Stand close to you.
Sorry.
Had you ever seen this dog before?
I have.
Where had you seen the dog before?
I've seen the pit bull in multiple places around the neighborhood. I've seen it across...
That same dog?
Yes. I've seen it across the street in that across the street neighbor's yard, and I've also seen it in my yard, and it's also been next to my chain link fence before.
Did you or you, Ms. Stevens, ever have a conversation with the defendant about the dog being unleashed?
I have not spoken to her at all.
For how long have you seen her unleashed dog out and about?
Probably about 10 times.
Have you ever said anything to your mother about seeing this dog outside?
I have.
Okay. I'm listening.
Yes, ma'am. May I show you on the
Absolutely.
On the diagram? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. First of all.
Don't tell me first of all.
Okay.
Were you there at approximately 8 p.m.
Yes,
on July 26th?
Correct, I was.
Okay, where were you? Show me where you were.
I was right here. I was loading a fridge into my home. I had my dog right here in the middle of the driveway, chained to the fence, okay? She came from across the crosswalk here, because I have a witness as well to show. She came from the crosswalk with her dog in front of her. She came across right into my driveway. The dog went into my driveway, and my dog went up to her, and they began to fight.
You're going like this.
Yes.
You're going like this. I don't want you to go like this.
Okay.
So your dog was on a chain.
Yes, ma'am.
A chain that extended almost to the end of your driveway.
Correct.
So show me exactly with your finger.
Okay, yes.
Where you say this confrontation between the pit bull and the schnauzer took place.
Right here, ma'am.
Well, you're pointing to about a foot. Well, now you keep moving your finger.
Right here.
Heather points at the end of her driveway. Caption coming up.
You know that I don't believe that your dog hasn't been out and about in the neighborhood. Unleashed.
No, ma'am. I don't let my dog off a leash.
We do have pictures of the dog as well, if you'd like to see those.
Oh, do you?
We
Yes.
You mean out and about?
Yes.
I'd like to see that.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Audrey, Emily, and Heather.
Audrey Stevens claims her neighbor, Heather Stevens, owes for vet bills after her dog was injured by Heather's pit bull.
Now you're moving your finger. So you're saying it's right at the end of your driveway?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a second. It was up further 5 seconds ago.
Okay,
now
my
your
dog was right here,
yeah,
ma'am.
Yeah.
The fight occurred right here.
Well, now your finger is at a different place, madam. I'm
Well-
just letting you know your finger moves up the driveway.
Right, I'd say right here.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Heather returns to the defendant's table.
You know that I don't believe that.
I know you don't believe that,
You,
Honor, but
you
that's
know,
what happened.
you know that I don't believe that your dog hasn't been out and about in the neighborhood. Do you know that I don't believe that? I don't think she's lying to me that your dog's been out and about in the neighborhood. Unleashed.
No, ma'am. I don't let my dog off a leash.
We do have pictures of the dog as well, if you'd like to see those.
Oh, do you?
We
Yes.
You mean out and about?
Yes.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
And this is after.
Shh.
Sorry.
I don't care before or after.
Yeah.
She just said, I don't let my dog go out without a leash.
Well, this is the injury.
Audrey hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She looks at 2 photos of an unleashed pit bull.
Ms. Stevens, these pictures belie the fact that your dog is out, leashed only. Do you want to see the photograph?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Kevin brings the photos to Heather, who reviews them.
Yes, Your Honor, I do see that, but I was outside with my dog at that time.
I don't care whether you were outside with your dog or not. You said your dog is never out without a leash. That's not true. That's not true. Were you a witness to this?
Yes, ma'am.
Be very careful. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
A woman rises.
Tell me your name.
My name is Karen Brennan.
Are you a neighbor?
No, I am a friend.
A friend of whose?
Of Heather Stevens.
Go ahead.
Well, on that day.
On what date?
On July 26th, I was helping Heather with the fridge.
With what?
With the refrigerator. And I was approaching the driveway.
Just a second. You were helping her with the refrigerator doing what?
Bringing the dolly out so it can be moved.
Bringing the dolly out from where?
From the side of the house.
And?
And I looked over and I saw the little dog and it caught my eye.
You saw what?
The little dog. And it caught my eye because every time before, anytime I put the dog out, Miss Stevens' dog, that little dog, if it was in the backyard, would continually bark it.
Just a second. Did you put the dog out that day?
No, I did not that day. But I recognized the dog.
So you did not put the dog out?
No.
That day?
Not that day.
Okay. What time did you get to Miss Stevens' house?
Mid-afternoon.
What's her dog's name?
Lily.
Was Lily chained to the fence all afternoon?
When we were...
Was Lily chained to the fence all afternoon? That's either a yes or a no. When you were there. That's either a yes or a no. Was Lily chained to the fence all afternoon when you were there? You said you got there mid-afternoon. This happened at 8 o'clock. Was the dog chained to the fence all the time you were there? Yes or a no? Or I don't know. No.
No.
Where was the dog?
In the backyard.
Until what time?
Until around 7-ish or so. I don't know the exact time, but it was mid-evening.
Okay. And what happened at that time when the dog was moved from the backyard outside of the backyard? Who moved the dog?
We went to go get the refrigerator.
No. Who moved the dog?
Heather did.
She took the dog from the backyard.
Yes.
Just a second. To the backyard, to the driveway, just to the driveway, because that's where she pointed out that the dog was chained to the driveway fence.
Yes. When we came back from we went to go get the refrigerator.
Just a minute. Well, you didn't tell me, so you left the house.
Yes.
What time did you leave the house?
Mid-afternoon. It was like...
What time?
Approximately 4 or 5.
Okay. And the dog at that time was where?
With us in the vehicle.
So you had the dog in the car, so the dog was in the backyard.
Yes.
And then from the backyard, the dog went with you in the car.
Correct.
And then what?
And then we picked up the refrigerator, and we came back, and then she had chained her.
Okay, so from the car, the dog went to the fence, which is chained sort of midway up the fence, according to the defendant, sort of midway up the driveway.
Correct.
Is where she chained the dog.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Then where did you go?
And then I went to go get the dolly and bring it around so we could get the fridge
Okay,
out.
And where did Miss Stevens stay?
She was in the driveway.
And it was when you were coming out of the backyard that you saw Miss Stevens in the driveway?
Yes.
And saw the little dog?
Yes.
She was in the driveway. Was she next to the dog? Go over there and point out where she was, would you, in the driveway?
Karen points at the driveway.
She was...
She, Miss Stevens?
That Miss Stevens, yes.
Your friend?
Yes.
Was right in the middle of the driveway, near where the dog was chained?
Yes.
And show me where the defendant's house is, because you had been in the house earlier that day. Point on that diagram where the house is.
Right here.
Where it says defendant.
Yes.
That's the whole house. And where's the front door?
Right here.
Up there. And where's the porch on the front door?
Right there.
Okay. Now, that's not where she was. She was in the driveway.
Correct.
Okay, now go back. Now I'm going to read to you what your friend Miss Stevens wrote and swore to in her answer. I was standing on the porch, maneuvering the fridge inside, and I saw a little dog sniffing around and walking up my driveway. She said she was on the porch.
Well, she was back.
That's where she said she was, on the porch. I know the plaintiff's dog is a barker since it has come to the backside of my property and barked at my dog through the fence. The dog walked all the way up the driveway to where my dog was. Now, you want to think back? Miss Stevens says she was standing on the porch. You were very certain she was standing mid-driveway right near her dog. Which one is it?
Well, we were trying to maneuver the fridge, so we were back and forth.
No. Which one is it? Was she on the porch, which is all the way at the other end?
Yes.
Or was she mid-driveway?
Mid-driveway.
She was mid-driveway. So Miss Stevens lied when she said she was on the porch.
Caption, coming up.
I didn't look at a police report. I listened to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I listened to your witness.
Yes.
And you and the witness that you brought told two divergent stories, two totally different stories. She was your witness.
Heather's eyes widen. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Audrey, Emily, Heather, and Karen.
Audrey Stevens is accusing her neighbor, Heather Stevens, of losing control of her pit bull. Heather claims Audrey's dog ran onto her property.
So Miss Stevens lied when she said she was on the porch. That's what she says in her answer. I was on the porch when this happened. You understand? Do you understand?
Yes.
Sit.
Karen sits.
Can I see your vet bills, please?
Your Honor, I have a video of my dog. Can we present the video that I have brought?
You mean for that day?
Yes, ma'am. No, not for that day. No, not for that day, but just to show you that my dog is not vicious. That she likes to play with little dogs.
Clearly not on this day. She didn't like to play with other dogs.
That dog is constantly barking at my dog in the backyard, and that's the only. My dog loves dogs. I have obedient records.
Miss Stevens.
Yes.
I want you to understand something.
Yes, ma'am.
Whether the Schnauzer is a barker or not a barker, I told you, I didn't believe you when you told me that her dog was off leash. I didn't believe that. Either you or your witness lied. I don't know which one. So I'm going to have to assume it was your witness. Do you want me to assume it was your witness or you? So one of you lied. She says you were in a totally different place. She was coming out from the backyard. That's where she was. She had gone to get the dolly. You said you were maneuvering the refrigerator up on the porch.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, who is telling me the truth? You want to tell me?
It was a very hectic day.
It was a very hectic day.
Yeah.
And I have photographs of your dog, despite the fact that you tell me that your dog is never off leash, always on leash. I have 3 photographs taken 3 different times of your dog being off leash. Now, there's no question that your dog caused the injuries to the dog.
This has been going on for over a year in court. They dismissed it in criminal court, and there's a reason why they dismissed it.
Just a second.
Yes,
You're going to try to tell me why they dismissed the case in criminal court? You have a document? I mean, I understand that they filed a criminal case against you.
There was a criminal case that was dismissed, Your Honor.
That's okay. That has nothing to do with this civil proceeding. You know, somebody may not want to put you in jail because you let your pit bull roam around without a leash. Somebody may not want to put you in jail, but you are clearly responsible for this dog's injuries. You are. If you have a pit bull, and pit bulls can be dangerous dogs, they can turn on a dime and cause serious injury. Pit bull lovers, I don't want to hear from you. I've been going through it for 25 years. Some of them are nice. Some of them are not nice. But when they're not nice and they turn, they have configurations that can cause a great deal of injury. One killed a woman who was babysitting for it.
I understand you.
So you do understand.
I believe, may I say something? I believe that a dog is how it was raised, okay? I've raised that dog from a baby. She's never been mean like that. That dog that lives next door, which is Miss Stevens' dog, yaps at my dog every single day. She goes outside, yaps, 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 yaps at her.
So what you're telling me is your dog, so if what you're telling me is that your dog had the right to be aggravated because the dog yaps at her all the time, that's not a reason to let any dog, but especially a dog that has potential to cause injury, out without a leash. And you do that regularly, and you can't do that.
Your Honor, can I also add that I did have a brief interaction with Miss Stevens on the day that it occurred, and it seemed like she did come out of the street with the dog. I don't believe she was in the driveway. She offered help for me.
She did?
Yes, before I went home.
And
where was
not
she?
to interrupt, but we also have video of her acknowledging fault with the officer's body cam video.
What is that?
They have a body cam on when he was talking to her when she said she's really sorry and she's going to pay the vet bill.
Oh, may I see that, please?
Body cam footage.
Getting ready to take her for a walk. We were moving in a fridge.
Oh, okay.
And she jumped out of the car when she seen that little dog because I was getting ready to get in the car and
Gotcha.
right on the corner here.
Okay. So were they just across the street then?
No, they were right here.
They were just right here on the sidewalk. Okay.
I'm going to pay the bill, I know, and whatever I got to do.
Yeah, so she's down at the clinic now.
It was a bite on her, on the shoulder, I think.
On the shoulder?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was just protecting me.
Sure.
That's all. And I'll pay the bill.
That you're responsible
And I want to
for,
apologize.
So. Sure.
I feel bad. I do feel bad about it. I do love dogs. I'm a dog lover. And I do feel bad. And I believe she just said, the defendant just said that she was in the street when that happened. It was in my driveway that happened, Your Honor. I'm just saying, we want to be honest.
Was the Was your dog on a chain?
My dog was on a chain, Your Honor. Another thing, I never got my side of the story added to that at all. It was all one-sided. The whole police report was one-sided, Your Honor.
I didn't look at a police report,
I
madam.
have one right here.
Just a second. I didn't look at a police report. I listened
It's
to
all
your.
one-sided.
I listened to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I listened to your witness.
Yes.
And you and the witness that you brought told two divergent stories, two totally different stories. She was your witness.
Yes.
Easily confused, but she was your witness. And you should have prepared her better, consistent with what your answer was. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor, I wasn't trying to...
Very, very good. Okay. Pain and suffering, unfortunately, is not yours. If you had had injury to yourself, and I think that the law is a little crazy there, but we can gauge pain and suffering for an animal. Anyway, your vet bills were $435.
Your Honor, we just added that just because, you know,
I understand.
Blatant disregard and the dog's still out all the time.
Oh, no, excuse me. The total with tax was $441. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Emily, then Karen and Heather.
It's been a struggle just because of how long it's been going on.
It was a crazy day.
The dog almost got to our dog's leg bone and broke it.
Because the dog is always japping at my dog.
It was pretty scary.
So it surprised me that that happened.
He was bleeding and everything.
She's not vicious whatsoever.
We ran him up to the hospital.
The animal control never get in my house.
I had a feeling that Judy would see right through her, so.
I love dogs, and I felt sorry for the little dog.
I'm happy about the settlement and how we got our money.
Judy and Sarah.
I'm not even going to get on my soapbox with regard to dogs that are potentially dangerous. There's no question that this lady has a dog that she's had from a puppy, and the dog has never caused her any difficulty. But there's also no question that she lets that dog out without a leash.
I mean, they had proof of different occasions of the dog out and about.
After this
after this incident.
After this incident.
So you can, I think that's also a great lesson, that you can feel bad and be an animal lover and want to take care of the bill. But if you don't take any subsequent remedial measures to fix your bad behavior that caused this great deal of injury, then I don't really believe you that you feel sorry or that you're a dog lover. Because,
well, that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, I mean, you knew what you had to do to ensure the safety of the dogs and other people in your neighborhood, and you chose not to do that. So
after it had already had an incident.
Exactly.
At least one.
Yeah.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. Albert Lee is suing pilot instructor Ed Meyer for damage resulting from Ed moving his plane.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches Judge Judy.
Case 2145, Lee versus Meyer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Lee, you are an amateur pilot?
Yes, I was yes.
And you owned your own plane?
I bought it to train in, yes.
When did you purchase the plane?
In, I believe, April of 2021.
Did you buy it new or used?
I bought it used.
What kind of plane is it?
It's a Cirrus SR-22, 2010 type Golf.
What did you pay for it?
I paid $420,000 for it, I believe.
Is there a mortgage on the...
Yes, there is.
How much?
It's $2204 per month.
You paid $425,000 for the plane?
Yeah, I put a down payment on it. The outstanding balance is $347,000. The payment per month is $2,022.
I don't need the payment per month. I just wanted to know what you paid for it and how much you put into the plane.
Yes.
The defendant is a pilot, licensed pilot, and he was giving you some training on the plane.
Certified flight instructor, yes.
It is your claim that at some point, you'll tell me when, that the defendant was operating the plane by himself. You weren't there, and he was moving it from one part of the FBO to another part, and he hit a cone and caused substantial damage to the propeller and the engine. And while you had, your insurance did cover some of it, according to you, it did not cover all of the expenses, and you want Mr. Meyer to be responsible for that. So it's a simple question. Mr. Meyer, do you remember the date that you were operating the plane when Mr. Lee was not there?
Yes.
What date?
It was in April sometime.
April of 2022?
Correct.
Do you remember the date, Mr. Lee?
Yes.
What date?
It's April 22nd.
Would that sound right?
Yes.
Okay. And from what I read in the papers, Mr. Meyer had in fact taken you out, but then the weather got bad. You decided that you would make your way home and that he would get the plane home when the weather was better.
Correct.
And that was on or about April 22nd.
I flew home on a commercial flight the day before on April 21st.
And you stayed with the plane?
Yes.
Now, would you agree, Mr. Meyer, that if in fact you hit an object with the plane, it would be your responsibility?
Yes.
Because it would mean that there was some sort of negligence involved.
Right.
And then there would be the issue of damages. Mr. Lee, you were not present when this incident happened.
I was not.
Not present.
I was not present. I was able.
No, you were not present.
I was not present.
That's the answer. Was this witness present?
He was not present, but he was the one responsible for procuring the evidence on what happened and how the propeller was damaged.
Who does he work for?
He has his own flight school, and he also manages my airplane in terms of the maintenance and the upkeep.
Okay. Could you step up, please?
A man rises.
Tell me your last name.
Last name is Williams.
Mr. Williams, were you charged with gathering the evidence to determine what happened to the plane on the 22nd of April?
Yes, I was.
And you're paid a monthly fee by the plaintiff to manage his plane.
That's correct.
Did you retain the defendant as an instructor, or did Mr. Lee?
That was both decided by Mr. Lee and Mr. Myers to fly for him.
But you
He's
did
an
not.
independent contractor. At that.
You did not have anything to do with, as the manager of the plane, you didn't have anything to do with selecting Mr. Meyer.
I did select Mr. Meyer to fly with Albert.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. Because were you the one who introduced him
That's
to Mr. Meyer?
That's correct.
When, Mr. Lee, did you start to work with Mr. Meyer?
It was probably a prior flight where we flew to San Francisco for a business meeting I had. After that, I believe it was...
In what month?
Roughly about the same month.
In April?
Yeah, in April.
So you didn't
maybe.
know him for a long time?
No, not very long.
I'm going to get back to you in a minute, Mr. Williams. Prior to the defendant, had anybody else been an instructor for you?
Yes. Clinton was my primary instructor, but I flew with some other instructors as well.
But it wasn't until the month that this incident occurred that you had been connected with the defendant?
Correct.
Okay. Now, sir, how were you advised that the plane that you managed was in an accident?
I received a phone call from Ed saying that there was a problem.
From whom?
From Mr. Myers, that there was a problem with the aircraft after he taxied and did the run-up and returned the aircraft back to Signature in Las Vegas. We notified and contacted a...
Did you ask, what you would usually ask is what happened?
Yeah, what happened?
Just a second, and what did he say to you?
He said that he was having instrument problems with the aircraft and he wasn't able to take off, so he returned the aircraft. At that point in time, I contacted a Cirrus Service Center. I had 2 technicians go out and look at the aircraft, see what was wrong. At the time, the technicians found that they...
Don't tell me what they found.
Okay.
You can't tell me what they found. It's hearsay.
They send me pictures of the damage of the propeller.
May I see the photographs?
Clint hands a tablet to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews a photo of a damaged propeller on it.
Okay, so that's a fresh damage.
Correct.
Can I scroll this?
Yes, you may.
Or it's just one? Okay, so you have a picture of that. You have a picture of the cone that has a slice in it.
Correct, that's the object he hit. We also have a video showing the plane taxi and hitting the cone at the
I'd like to see that as well.
Okay.
Okay, let's see what we got.
As you can see where the...
Just one second, Mr. Meyer, is that a fair and accurate representation of where the plane was before you moved it?
It should be on the last, on the far left side of that Learjet.
Okay.
Footage of a small plane running over a traffic cone, then dragging it.
Oh. Mr. Meyer, do you see that you went over a cone?
It's interesting. I didn't even notice there was a cone.
You may not notice it, but you see it now.
Yes.
Okay.
Caption, coming up.
Your hitting of the cone caused damage to that plane. I mean, you're not talking about flying a 747. You're talking about a little single prop plane. Yeah, they like those planes you put together, we used to put together with rubber bands. I wouldn't put my behind in one of those planes for all the money in the world.
Whitney grins. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Albert, Clint, and Ed.
Albert Lee claims pilot instructor Ed Meyer is responsible for damage after Ed moved Albert's plane.
Okay.
In all of my years of flying, which is pretty significant, I was an airline pilot too, I've never, ever experienced that in my life.
Okay, but you see it now.
Yes.
It's not an on purpose. It's, you know, that's why they call them accidents. We don't mean for them to happen.
Right.
We don't mean for them to happen, but you do see that the plane did hit a cone.
Right.
Okay, and I have photographs of the cone that has a slice in it, and the same kind of slice from one of the propellers. Now, so that's conceded that Mr. Meyer did, in fact, hit the cone, which in all probability caused damage to the plane, caused damage to the propeller. Now, tell me about your insurance.
The insurance covered the propeller. They covered the teardown of the engine. When something strikes the propeller, they have to tear apart the engine, make sure the components...
Do you have those,
that
paperwork for me? I'd like to see it.
Okay, so here is the insurance-covered portion, and here is my covered portion that I had to come out of pocket to pick up the plane.
Okay.
And I can explain both invoices.
Albert hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
And if you flip to the last page, that'll have the total. Insurance covered about 60-something thousand for the propeller and the engine teardown.
Okay, so the damaged propeller, Mr. Williams, causes you to have to take apart the engine, fix the engine if there was damage to the engine. Am I correct?
That's correct. The FAA requires anytime you strike an object with a propeller, the engine has to be inspected in the component parts. So they
Component parts of the engine?
Of the damage, potential damage of the engine. Internal damage that could be caused by striking an object.
Okay, the insurance covered how much, sir? Mr. Lee?
It's, sorry, it's on the invoice, 60, I think it was 63,000, 64,000. It's on the last page.
The last page shows
a deposit of
$63,000.
Yes, that's it.
The deposit was 40, balance due was 23. Did the insurance company pay the entire 63?
This entire
$63,000. This was what was submitted to them.
Yes.
Okay, now I'd like you to take a look at this, Mr. Meyer. No, I'm going to actually ask Mr. Williams to take a look at this document. These are the items, Mr. Williams, that Mr. Lee says were uncovered. I would like you to go through all those items and tell me which of those items relate to the engine and which do not.
Okay, is this the total?
Carefully, because I'm going to potentially ask you about each individual thing, because there looks to me like some things that bear no relation to an engine.
Okay, so most of the items that you see that are airworthiness on the airframe are the items that need to be inspected or replaced from the teardown. So your item 1, item 2, 3, 4, item 5, 6, 7, 8. These are all items that the repair shop goes through the engine and assesses whether it needs.
Well, tell me how the brakes would be impacted.
I don't think
impacted by hitting the.
Which invoice?
And I don't know, but how brakes would be impacted by hitting a nose cone.
Brake lining, I don't know what that is.
Okay. Yeah, some of these items, Your Honor, such as one of these items, the brake lines, as you pointed out, is probably not part of the.
Well, that's what I want you to go through, sir.
Okay.
Do you understand? I want you to take a marker, a pen, and circle, because I don't know a whole lot about airplanes, but I know a little bit about airplanes. I know what's routine maintenance and what has to be taken care of, because a plane either falls on its nose or falls on its tail, both of which I've experienced.
Well, this is a small invoice. This is not your, this is a 12.
Mr. Williams, don't ask him. I didn't ask you to have a conference with him.
Okay.
I asked you to look at that. You're the management company. I want you to strike those items that are not related to this accident and go through them very carefully, because...
Can I make a comment? Okay.
Nope.
To you directly?
Nope.
Okay.
Can I ask you something?
Can you ask me something?
Yeah. Well, they should tell you those cones are made of plastic.
I don't care. They're heavy cones. You hit the cone, and the plane flew perfectly fine before you hit the cone. It didn't run after you hit the cone. You don't have to be a genius to figure out the cone caused, your hitting of the cone caused damage to that plane. I mean, you're not talking about flying a 747. You're talking about a little this is a single prop plane.
Right.
Yeah. Me, they're like those planes you put together, we used to put together with rubber bands. I wouldn't put my behind in one of those planes for all the money in the world.
The only items I can see, Your Honor, are two items that may not be related to the accident, items 7 and 8.
Okay, may I have that back, please, sir?
Clint hands the document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
And you are familiar with planes, sir, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what you're saying is item
The circled item.
7 and 8.
Correct.
So we have...
There's a couple of...
We have right and left main gear, which is 143 plus 270 plus 66. What about item 9? Pitch, trim, jab, nut, loose. What is that?
Probably what they do during the inspection and the tear down, they go through the aircraft itself, make sure it's airworthy. So they probably caught another item or two. You can probably put that on item that's wasn't part of the accident.
The big ticket items, adding up all of these items, Mr. Meyer, that probably have no relation to the accident which you caused.
Correct.
Still bring the total amount to more than this court's jurisdictional limit. Can you tell me, sir, why your insurance, Mr. Williams, let's go back to you. You manage this plane. Can you tell me why Mr. Lee's insurance didn't cover all the damage to the plane?
A lot of the prospective renters or instructors that everybody uses, or we used in this case, carry their own insurance for this type of incident. Their insurance covers basically downtime, loss of operation, or in this case...
You mean Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Would have his own, do you have your own insurance?
No.
No.
Caption, coming up.
Don't you do a check to find out if they have their own insurance before you recommend someone?
He had insurance, but it was lapsed.
If you have insurance that's lapsed, then you have no insurance.
Yeah, that's correct.
So you're lucky that he's not suing you.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Albert, Clint, and Ed.
Albert Lee is accusing pilot instructor Ed Meyer of hitting a cone and damaging his plane. Ed says Albert was already paid by his insurance company.
Mr. Williams, you were the one who recommended
That's
Mr.
correct,
Meyer.
we did.
Don't you do a check to find out if they have their own insurance before you recommend someone?
He had insurance, but it was lapsed.
Well, that he didn't have insurance. I get that all the time. If you have insurance that's lapsed, then you have no insurance.
Yeah. As a flight school, our instructors are required to carry the insurance.
Okay, but that didn't happen here.
That's correct.
So you're lucky that he's not suing you, because you managed the plane for him. And you recommended him, Mr. Williams, you know. But you have a management company that manages your plane. They're supposed to make certain that if you have a certain kind of plane, that you have pilots certified to fly those kinds of planes. And if they give me a list of pilots, and those pilots aren't certified to fly the kind of plane that I might have, then it's the fault of the management company.
In this case here, the plaintiff and the defendant were working together as far as their payment and the fees they were going to charge.
That's okay. They may have been working head to head. I mean, it was Mr. Meyer's fault, but I'm just telling you that Mr. Lee relies on your advice. What business are you in, Mr. Lee?
I do commercial real estate. I sell shopping centers and office buildings.
Okay, that's not his business. That's why he hires you. And if he hires you, he asks you for recommendations as to where to get the plane repaired for an instructor. Now, the fact that he may pay him independently, he's relied on you for information. So I suggest, Mr. Williams, that you tighten up your ship a little bit. Mr. Meyer, you're responsible to the plaintiff for the damage that you caused his plane. Why did you let your insurance lapse?
It had lapsed. I just didn't even realize the fact that it had lapsed. I just realized the fact that when this came about, that's what happened.
Well, when was the last time you paid premiums?
Probably about a year before that.
Anything else you want to tell me, Mr. Meyer? You owe him $10,000. You caused the damage. You have to fix it. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Ed, then Albert, and Clint.
I understand her point, the fact that what she saw.
I thought she's very fair.
These cones are made out of plastic.
It's hard to believe. It sounds like a gunshot when he hit the cone and triggered several warnings. And for him to say he had no idea, it's a little bit hard to believe.
They don't have much weight to them.
With the loud bang after you hit it, it's quite obvious that you should have stopped and shut down and inspect the damage.
There normally is never a cone at the 12 o'clock position. They're at the left side and the right side.
They place cones all the way around the aircraft, and it's part of your responsibility as a pilot in command to do a walk around pre-flight, make sure there's no object in front of your aircraft.
When I taxied out halfway down, that's when I recognized there was an ICAS message that came on.
I finally got it back, and no more student pilots won't let any CFIs fly for a while.
Judy and Sarah.
You know what I thought about in this case, Sarah? That lay people have to look at something, lay people, and while I'm a judge and have certain expertise, I have no expertise in reading slips that show what's been done on a car or an airplane or a train or a boat.
But we have common sense.
But we have common sense. And your brakes are not part of an engine. You know, you have an engine job, and then you have a brake job, and you have a...
I saw where you were going.
different kind. And, you know, if you have an accident that impacts on the right driver's door, if you put in a new wheel casing in the left rear door, well, that has nothing to do with an accident.
Probably just an oversight. He did state that those two items were not part of, you know.
He did.
He did at the end, but it just feels a little uneasy when they try and slip those things in there, that just common sense doesn't ring true, that it comes from the science.
Yeah, you know, front, back, you know, the head of a horse, the tail of a horse, it doesn't fit in. And there's really no difference between not having insurance when you're driving a car and not having insurance as a flight instructor. Yeah, that's pretty serious.
I would think there would be a more rigorous check on that before you get behind an aircraft, the wheel of an aircraft.
Absolutely. You would think that there would be. Yeah. There's a flaw in the system someplace. Okay, I'm glad nobody was hurt.
Yeah.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. Karen Heckendorf is suing her homebuyer, Dante Zarzosa, for an unlawful eviction, extortion, and emotional distress.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case 2156, Heckendorf versus Zarzosa.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Heckendorf, who is this gentleman?
This was an attorney I hired in Mexico, kind of in the middle of the night when...
He's an attorney?
In Mexico.
Okay.
And my witness.
Okay. So, trying to piece this complaint and answer together, you purchased a home from Mr. Zarzosa?
No, Your Honor.
He purchased a home from you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got it. He purchased a home from you in Mexico?
Yes.
Where in Mexico?
About 5 miles north of Rosarito, maybe 10 miles south of the border.
How long have you owned the home?
I owned the home about 5 years.
How much did you pay for it?
When I bought it was $180.
How much did Mr. Zarzosa pay for the house?
$245.
On what date did he purchase the house?
February the 9th.
Were you present at the closing of the house?
I was.
When you closed on the house on February 9th, how much money did you receive?
I was supposed to receive...
No. You were supposed to receive $245,000. How much did you receive?
I received a cashier's check for $15,000.
15?
$15,000. I received cash, $4,500. And I received the next day through a wire transfer 4.6 million pesos or something like that. I have the paperwork.
Just tell me what that translated to in dollars.
It was $220,500.
Okay, well, if you have proof to how much the translation of pesos to dollars is, that means that you got a total so far without the down payment. Did he give you a down payment?
Yes, $5,000. I was paid for my house. I was paid for my house.
No, I understand that, but this is the problem. Mr. Zarzosa says that when he took out the mortgage, he increased the amount that he was borrowing so that he had closing costs covered to the extent of, I think, $3,800 or $3,900.
It was a total of almost $10,000.
No.
Oh, $3,900.
That's what I asked you. What's 10,000? 10,000 comes out of nowhere. It was a difference, you said, of $3,900.
Yes, ma'am.
And so he wanted from you the difference.
Well, the realtor gave me...
Not the realtor. He wanted from you...
The realtor told me that. I've never really spoke to Dante except for on February 22nd and the time that he came and looked at my house. But the realtor sent me a fake statement, which I looked at because it's a high school kid's piece of paper, and I said I was not making a refund.
Okay, well, you have to make a refund if you were paid more for the house than you're bargained for with the purchaser.
That's true.
That's true.
And the bank told me on April 1st.
No, they can't tell you anything.
Oh, really?
If they documented something to you, then I'll read it. But you can't tell me what a bank told you. First of all, banks don't speak. Now, I'd like you to get what Mr. Zarzosa is handing me.
This is from the bank.
Dante hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Well, I can't read this, but what I can't read is in Spanish, but I can read the numbers which indicate that you received, Ms. Heckendorf, a total of $249,544.22. Let me see.
May I see that, ma'am?
Absolutely.
Because this is what that bank gave me right here.
Kevin hands a document to Karen.
And I did go with my witness to the bank on April 1st, and they told me that
A bank can't tell you anything.
They told me that was the correct amount.
A bank can't tell you. They can give you a document, which I will read, but a bank can't tell you anything.
This is not really a case about this contract.
Yeah, it is. It started this way.
They're saying that that bank sent me the wrong amount of money?
Yes. That's what it says. That's what that says.
That's what this says.
That's what that says.
I imagine anyone can write what they want, but I was not paid the wrong amount of money.
Well, the bottom line of it was, eventually you gave him back $2,800 of the $39 that he said that he was entitled to. Is that correct,
No.
Ms. Heckendorf?
No.
You never gave him $2,800?
I signed a contract and gave him $2,800 under duress. He took my dogs and my cat, and he took my property.
I want you to understand what I'm saying to you. When I ask you a question, I expect an answer. You gave him $2,800, and you gave him the $2,800 because he believed and told you that he had taken out extra money in order to cover his closing costs. And you got that money, and he wanted that money back because he was going to have to pay for it through his mortgage.
I have never heard that these were closing costs. This is the first I've heard about closing
Well,
costs.
I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to
never heard about closing costs.
Stop talking. Stop talking.
Okay.
Caption, coming up.
And I'm keeping it very simple. Okay. You're going to want to keep it very complicated, and I, madam, are going to keep it very simple. So the bottom line is you stayed in the house for free.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Karen and Dante.
Karen Heckendorf claims her homebuyer, Dante Zarzosa, extorted money by keeping her pets and property. Dante is countersuing for false accusations and lost wages.
Good. This is your piece of evidence. Your piece of evidence says that you got $249,544.22.
No.
That's what it says.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, that's what it says. You gave him $2,800. He wanted $3,900. You gave him $2,800. What you're suing him for
He also
is
wanted
I'm going
$2,500.
to dismiss your case.
Okay.
It's just as easy for me to send you back to Mexico. Once you closed on this house, according to what I looked at, Ms. Heckendorf, you asked if you could stay in the house because your new house wasn't ready to close escrow. Is that correct? That's a yes or a no?
Yes.
And so you closed the house on February 9th, and he allowed you to stay in the house. When were you supposed to vacate the house?
March the 1st, I paid $2,000.
That's a date, March 1st. And between February 9th and March 1st, how much did you pay him in rent?
I gave him the money from the casita.
Just a second.
Yes.
That's an amount between February 9th and March 1st.
$2,370.
So that was a month's rent. Is that what you received?
No, Your Honor.
How much did she pay you in rent between February 9th and when she was supposed to vacate March 1st? She would have paid you rent in advance.
Nothing.
Show me proof that you paid him anything for rent on February 9th.
Karen hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Did you ever receive from this agent $2,370?
No, Your Honor.
Well, do you know who he is?
Yes, I do know. That's the realtor that represented both of us on the purchase.
And you never received, this was on February 9th. He acknowledges, he signed that he received $1,620 as in for the last month's rent and $750 security deposit, as well as prorated rent of $120. I don't know what prorated rent is for.
It was for the end of January. They moved in a few days before.
Who moved in?
The people that rented the casita.
And that's part of the house?
Yes.
What is that?
I have two houses on the property, the one I lived in and the casita. And Dante gave me an email that if I gave him this money from the casita, that I could live in the front house until March the 1st. I have that
Just a
email.
second. When he bought the house, did he or did he not buy the casita as well?
Yes, he did.
So he bought the casita as well. So it belonged to him. This rent belonged to him.
Only
So
if I
what do you mean?
rented
He's
it.
not giving you anything. If he buys a house and there's another property, he owns that property. He owns whatever rent was due for that property. So what you're saying is, let me cut to the chase. What you're saying is, you claim, he said to you, I've just paid you $250,000 for your house, which includes the casita. Your house isn't ready yet to close escrow. I will let you stay in the house free if you let me keep the money from the casita's rent.
Yes.
Oh,
And I have
fine.
an
So that the
email.
bottom line, don't speak, it doesn't look like you're losing so
And-
far. I may not be finished with you.
And
So
I hadn't rented
you're
the
speaking,
casita.
you're trying to speak over me.
Well,
and I'm keeping it very simple.
Okay.
You're going to want to keep it very complicated, and I, madam, are going to keep it very simple. So the bottom line is you stayed in the house for free from February 9th or 10th until it was supposed to be until March 1st. That was your understanding. You were staying in his house for free.
I didn't have to rent the casita.
I don't care whether you had to or whether you didn't have to. You were staying in your house that you sold to him for free until your new house was ready. That's a yes.
I felt that.
I don't
but
care
guess
how
if
you
you
feel.
want to look at it
I
that
don't
way,
care how you feel.
Okay.
You sold him your property and you took advantage of a piece of that property, the casita, in order to negotiate yourself a free 3-week rent until your house is ready. Now, you may stand there and look at me in that smug way, but you and I both know that that was a deal you made for yourself.
Yes, I agreed.
Okay.
I agreed to rent the casita ahead of time before I moved out and give him the money so that I could stay in the property until my house closed escrow 1 week.
Pretty tricky.
May have been March the 6th.
Pretty tricky. Bottom line is you stayed in his house for free.
Okay.
And then what the rest of the case is about is that you claim that he changed the locks on the door before March 1st, and in the house you had your pets, and he held ransom your pets until you gave him what turned out to be $2,800. That's your complaint. He changed the locks on February 28th. Where were you when he changed the locks?
February 22nd.
22. Where were you when he changed the
I was
lock?
in my office in San Diego.
Okay. And how did you find out that the locks were changed on the door?
Dante sent me an email that I found later admitting to what he did, but
I asked you a question.
I was at my office, and he called me on the phone, and he said, "This is Dante Zarzosa, and I have..."
My way. He called you in the office. That's how you found out he changed the locks. That's an answer. Approximately what time did he call you in your
It
office?
was about 6:30, 6:45 in the evening.
6:30 p.m. And tell me what you claim he said to you and what you said to him.
This is Dante Zarzosa. I have your 2 dogs. You're never going to see them again if you don't pay me $3,900.
Now, that wasn't the first time you had heard about this $3,900. That was not the first
I heard about it on February the 9th. No, the 8th. Sorry, February the 8th, I'd heard about it.
And so you told him after that that you would, or you told him, or you told your lawyer, is that you? Now you can stand up.
I met him.
Shh, don't speak.
Okay.
Caption, coming up.
On what date did you get your pets back?
Well, I didn't actually get them. My friends went and begged for the animals.
Don't tell me what they did.
They gave them to... And they gave them to my...
Stop it, please. Okay.
Sit.
Karen's lawyer sits. Whitney smirks. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Karen and Dante.
Karen Heckendorf has accused her homebuyer, Dante Zarzosa, of extortion by threatening her pets. Dante claims Karen owes him for making false accusations.
Your last name, sir, is?
Mena, Your Honor.
Mena. Mr. Mena, you're an attorney in Mexico?
Yes.
Okay. Are you a real estate attorney?
Yes, civil attorney, real estate as well.
You understand what this is about, and you understand if you're a real estate attorney that sometimes people take a mortgage that's beyond what they need in order to cover their closing costs. You understand that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It's not an unusual thing. I bought and sold many homes. A lot of people do that. And when were you first made aware of the fact that the defendant was at least claiming that there was an amount that he had incurred debt on by way of a mortgage in excess of what your client in Mexico was supposed to receive in the amount of $3,900?
February the 22nd, something like that.
2/22. And when she came to your office, now we no longer have attorney-client privilege, sir, because she's brought you here as a witness, so you're going to testify to every conversation that you
Absolutely,
had.
yes.
You understand that?
Absolutely.
Okay. She came to your office after she found out that the locks were changed.
Actually, I was at home. That was at night.
So when for the first time, sir, did you hear about this money that the defendant was claiming that he was owed?
Mr. Dante called me.
I want you to answer my question.
Yes.
My question is, when she called you the night of the 22nd at your home, did she tell you at that time or soon thereafter that there was a discrepancy that he was alleging with regard to the closing fees?
Not actually, no. No,
She didn't tell you anything. She told you that he just illegally evicted her and changed the locks.
Yes, and at the same time, because of some situations regarding a deal she has on the sale of the property.
Your client knew, as of February 8th, that the defendant was alleging that she owed him money from the closing costs. That's clear. That's what she told me. Now, they had clearly ongoing discussions about this from February 8th or 9th, when the deal closed and she got her money and she's living rent-free. So what I want to know, when did she share with you, not that there was an illegal eviction, not that her pets were in the house, when did she share with you that he was claiming that she owed him money? And I'm not excusing self-help. When did she tell you that? Because she knew it at the beginning. She knew it before she called you.
I have the communication from Mrs. Karen at the time we filed the complaint in the DA office, district attorney office. This is the time when she expressed me the whole facts.
Oh, so she didn't tell you the whole fact when she called you at home on the 22nd?
No, because she was very worried. She was concerned regarding the babies.
Don't tell me that. Okay.
That's it.
Now I got it. So I got what you're dealing with. I understand who I'm dealing with. Okay. On what date did you get your pets back, Miss Heckendorf?
The 22nd.
Okay. What time?
Well, I didn't actually get them. I got them the next day because my friends went and begged for the animals.
Don't tell me what they did.
They gave them and they gave them to my friends.
Stop it, please.
Sit.
The lawyer sits.
I just asked you when you got your animals back. So you got your animals back on the same day as he changed the locks on the house. They were given to friends.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So they were returned to you the same day because if they were given to your friends at your direction, your friends were your agents.
Yes.
Good.
Only the dogs. He had my cat the next day.
Did you have a cat or is it an outside cat? Is it an outside cat?
Outside cat that lives indoors, and they put
it's
the
an
doggy door down so the cat couldn't get out.
Okay.
He told me he had my cat.
Okay. When did you give him the $2,800?
About 5 o'clock on Wednesday, the 23rd.
Is there a writing of the exchange of that money? I'd like to see it.
Dante hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
I can't read this.
The plaintiff has a translated version.
Can I see the translated copy, please?
Can I speak?
About what?
About that paper?
Yeah.
He was the one that drew it up. He could tell you, Your Honor.
No. I want this Did you draw this up?
Can I see it?
Yeah, sure. Kevin, give it to him.
Kevin brings the document to the lawyer.
Did you draw that?
Yes, I participated.
What does it tell me?
It's translated.
Don't speak. Do you have the translation of this document?
Yes, I gave it to you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, number 5, very clear. This is the agreement that Mr. Zarzosa receives from Ms. Heckendorf $2,800 for concept of refund of pending payment. The previous amount is received fully. Therefore, the debt is liquidated. And number 6, the seller, Ms. Karen Heckendorf, grants the broadest waiver derived from the investigation file presented before the district attorney's office. I assume that that was your complaint, and with a file number filed against Mr. Zarzosa by not keeping any legal action present, past or future, derived from the present business.
This is the police report they're talking about.
I don't care what this says, is you've settled all of your disputes with each other. This says you've settled everything that had to be settled. Okay, but what the translation suggests is by this document, each of you understood that you were giving him money. He was not going to follow through with anything that had to do with the criminal complaint or with a criminal complaint against him. You went your own merry way. Am I crazy, or is that what this document says, sir? You are the lawyer.
Yes, it says so.
That's what it says so. So I want to know why you're all here bothering me. You settled everything. You got back your stuff. You got out of your house. You got your personal property. He has a counterclaim for false accusations and loss of wages as a result of whatever. This document says you've resolved everything with each other. So why are you here?
I did not sign that document under usual circumstances. I hadn't had any sleep, and I was coerced. And he said he was going to burn my furniture or he was going to sell it in the year that it would take me to prosecute him under this Mexican contract.
Put it down, sir. The case is over.
If he wanted to
The case
sue
is
me,
over. You're a pretty savvy lady, madam. You had an attorney that you consulted. He was there when this document was signed.
He wasn't on the real estate deal.
He was here when
only on this
Goodbye.
deal
We're
in the
done.
middle of the
Case is
night.
dismissed. So is your counterclaim.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Karen, then Dante.
this was really a case about Dante taking my animals for hostage and extortion.
I didn't steal anything.
The only reason I agreed to give him $2,800 was because he said he was going to burn or sell my furniture.
I'm gonna enjoy my house. Thank you, Karen.
Judy and Sarah.
That lady was never intimidated into anything.
I don't think so either.
She knew she had gotten an extra few bucks at the closing. She knew that she was really living there rent-free, which is really very nice. You buy a property, letting her stay there for almost a month. I have little sympathy for him because he resorted to self-help, went to the house, even though he knew she was still there, and changed the locks. But that document clearly indicated that both parties at some point said, okay, enough. I'm getting out of the house. I'm getting my belongings. My pets are back. Here's your money, and finished. Well, when you make a settlement, you've made a settlement. You don't get to make one settlement in Mexico and another one in California.
Agreed.
That's not the way things work.
Title, Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv. Jimmy Davis is suing motorist Micaiah Bigham for property damage to his house from a car accident.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches Judge Judy.
Hello, Judge. Case 2157, Davis versus Bigham.
Judy turns to Micaiah.
Miss Bingham.
Yes, ma'am.
You hit Mr. Davis's house.
This is wall, retaining wall.
Wall.
Yes, ma'am.
You hit his wall.
Yes, ma'am.
With your car.
Yes, ma'am.
It damaged his wall. His wall didn't move. His wall didn't come up on you. And you were at home at the time.
No, ma'am, I was actually away.
Okay, so you didn't see what happened.
Did not visually witness the incident.
Okay.
Just the damage after.
Who did?
There were several neighbors. One of my neighbors called
You don't
me.
just. You have no witnesses here today.
I do not have any witnesses with me today. They could not.
Do you have a police report?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Jimmy produces a document, then hands it to Kevin. He brings it to Judy, who reviews it.
Thank you. Accident happened on September 22nd. Whose car were you driving?
It was my car. My dad bought it for me.
When?
Last year,
What kind of car is it?
2012 Nissan Altima.
You have insurance on the car?
I have insurance.
Did you have insurance, and you're going to tell me with whom, because that you can check, on September 22nd of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
You did?
Yes, ma'am.
With whom?
Direct.
Okay, let me see that you had insurance. Do you have proof that you had insurance on the car?
Well, I have the policy.
Were you current on payments for the policy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you had insurance. I'm just wondering why your insurance didn't cover this accident. No.
Micaiah nods.
What time did you hit his wall on the 22nd?
It was around 4:30, 4:45-ish.
In the afternoon?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you going?
I was on the way to pick up my uncle to go to my son's football game.
Okay, so Miss Bingham, tell me what happened.
I was getting off the interstate. I turned right. I was coming up to the light. As I was going to the light, I never seen the car.
Go to the chart and explain it to me.
Okay, so this is 28th. I got up the interstate. This is me driving straight to the light. As I was going straight, just how it happened, a car comes out from over here, Haley Park. It hits me. It caused me to go left, but I was in this lane. It was going to cause me to go left and hit the cars in these lanes. So I turned right, and I ended up in his yard to avoid a collision.
Do you have photographs of the rear damage to your car?
It's right here, but you can't see. I guess they cropped out most of it.
I want to see the damage to the right
If I may.
driver's side. Yes.
I have some photos that might be helpful.
I'd like to see them.
Jimmy produces photos.
These are the car, and these are other damages as well.
Kevin brings the photos to Judy, who reviews images of a car in the front yard of a house.
So it appears that someone hit her car on the driver's rear panel.
Yes, ma'am.
And took off.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you own this home, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And there's no question that you swerved in and damaged his property?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you try to contact her insurance company?
I did.
You went home, you were called, came from wherever you were from work, you came home, you took a look at it. Car was still there when you got home?
No, ma'am. The car was removed. My neighbor was able to put me on the phone with Micaiah and the police officer, so I was able to get that information. Immediately, when returning home, I reached out to submit the photos that I had taken myself and submit the police report after obtaining it. It took, quite a considerable amount of time to get back with me, but when I reached out again to understand the status, they, said that she's not liable and they were not going to stand behind it.
Can I see what they sent to you? Did they send something to you?
They did send a letter.
I'd like to see it.
I do not have that letter with me, but I actually called to speak with them.
You said they sent you a letter.
Yes, ma'am.
And where is it?
I don't have the letter. It was a denial letter.
That said it was not her fault.
It did not say it was her fault, but they said they could not submit the claim due to, I guess, whatever insurance she had, or whatever coverage she had, the amount of coverage.
Oh, no, that's a different story. You see, that's why I need the letter.
Okay.
Either they said that they're denying the claim because it wasn't her fault, or they denied the claim because she had no insurance to cover it.
The letter also indicated, of course, reaching out to the company to speak and discuss it further. So when I did reach out to the point of contact on the letter to understand why they weren't covering it, the amount of coverage that she had did not cover, I guess, property damage. And that was an argument between me and the company. And
well, how much did it cover?
They did not specify.
Oh, well, that's...
They simply denied it and pushed it away and actually hung up on me. So there's no denying the car's there, right?
Yes.
No denying the accident.
No, I do understand you. Do you have homeowner's insurance?
I do have homeowner's insurance.
Did you put it in through your homeowner's insurance?
Consulted homeowner's insurance, and they suggested that I work this out, me personally, instead of taking the hit on my homeowner's insurance as a victim of this accident. So I didn't see that necessary.
Well, Mr. Davis, I sort of disagree with you, sir. And usually that's not the position I take. But if I am to believe Miss Bingham, and based upon the evidence that you presented to me, it clearly demonstrates that she was hit. Her vehicle was a victim of a hit and run. Her vehicle was hit, which caused this accident. There is no indication anywhere in the police reports that she was speeding, that she went through a light.
Based on her own testimony, she swerved in my direction to avoid hitting other cars.
Well, wouldn't that be smart?
Micaiah shakes her head. Caption coming up.
If her insurance didn't cover it, your homeowners will cover it.
My homeowners covers that, and that's a penalty for me, and I'm a victim here.
So is she.
Crossed over.
Just a second. So is she. She can't find the other driver. I mean, it would be different.
That's her responsibility.
No, sir.
And later today.
We would like the 2 kayaks back.
Correct.
And when did you begin storing them at the defendant's?
I brought them over the next day after I bought them.
Okay, you acknowledge the fact that the plaintiff, who was then your friend, brought them over for you to store. You're not friends anymore. She wants them back. Why not?
A woman shrugs. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jimmy and Micaiah.
Jimmy Davis claims motorist Micaiah Bigham owes for damage to his house after Micaiah crashed into his yard.
That sounds smart. She didn't want to hit oncoming traffic coming from the other direction.
It was not oncoming traffic. She was in the same lane with the traffic.
If I am to believe her, and your evidence showing that her car was hit in the rear on the driver's side, so I have no reason to doubt her. There was no issue of drugs or alcohol involved. You weren't issued a citation, I assume?
No, ma'am.
No. Then if her insurance didn't cover it, your homeowners will cover it.
Sure.
And you should go through your homeowners.
My homeowners covers that, and that's a penalty for me, and I'm a victim here.
So is she.
Crossed over.
Just a second. So is she.
I understand.
If I am to believe her, and I believe her, so is she.
I understand.
But what I think you have to do is go through your homeowners, not Miss Bingham. She can't find the other driver. I mean, it would be different.
That's her responsibility.
No, sir. She is a victim of a hit and run. She has no way, unless it comes out of her pocket, of compensating you. She has no way, unless it's out of her pocket, of compensating you. She has insurance. You have no evidence to give me today as to why her insurance made a decision that they weren't responsible. You don't have that with you today, and it could very well be, as her insurance company determined, that this accident, while tragic, was not her fault. She was, in fact, a victim of a hit and run. You were a byproduct of that. So I'm telling you, go to your homeowners.
Well, let me understand correctly here.
What I'm telling you is, use your homeowners. That's what I would do.
That's you. I mean, that's a lot of other people would have a different decision. A lot of other people would bring it to small claims court and try to dispute that, and that's what.
Well, that's what you're doing, and I'm telling you that you should use your homeowner's insurance because that's what it's for.
Typically, with car insurance, there's property coverage.
You don't have, sir. I'm not accepting your hearsay. You have to prove your case to me. You see, that's your burden. You have to prove your case. I have now made a decision that the accident was not caused by her. She was not
caused by her deciding to swerve into my property.
Are you trying to talk over me?
Just adding a little extra context to it.
It was not caused by substance abuse. It was not caused by speeding. There was no violation given to her. And according to you, she had insurance. So it's up to you to show me why
her insurance
no, not her policy, why you were told her insurance didn't cover it. You don't have that here. In the event that you give me a letter and the letter said she has liability for a certain amount, but it's not the $5,000 that you're alleging that it will cost to redo this. She only had $2,500. Well, then I would say to you, her insurance should kick in the $2,500, and I'm going to give you the other $2,500. You shouldn't be out of pocket. I would do that. If she determines to underinsure her liability so that she pays less in insurance, then that's on her.
The insurance company wouldn't disclose all of that to me.
They sent you a letter, and you don't have it.
A denial letter, and to reach out to them.
That's what you're telling me. That's hearsay, sir.
Okay.
That's hearsay. It's not hearsay if you bring it in to show it to me.
Understood.
So what I'm telling you is this is an incident where, in my judgment, you have two innocent people who were both victims of an irresponsible driver. And if her insurance company, for some reason, and I don't know what it is, that's for her to take up with her insurance company. I don't know whether she's underinsured or whether they determined, after looking at the same things that I determined, that the accident wasn't her fault. So you can't tell me what they wrote because you didn't bring that letter, and we're talking about something that you got a month ago.
Understood.
Okay, good. Then you go through go through your homeowners because your case is dismissed. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Jimmy, then Micaiah.
The defendant says she chose to drive into my house instead of hitting another car. Both are equally as dangerous, and that cost me.
I didn't want to hit 5 or 6 other cars,
So I just did what I thought was best.
You know, I found out because it's a very public street. Many people know that community, so people reached out.
It was just everything happened so fast. I can't explain it. Energy was just like, I'm stuck. You know, my car just got stuck, and I was just like, hey, I'm just glad I didn't hurt anybody else.
Because they saw that it was a very horrible accident.
That's all I was happy I was still here. Not the car, not the house, me. I'm glad I'm still here to go home my son.
Sarah and Judy.
No, the plaintiff really hurt himself with those photos of the defendant's car, and he didn't even notice. I don't think he even notices still. But she had no proof in front of her, no papers, no photos of what her car looked like, so she would have no way of showing that the accident was not her fault. But he proved that the accident was not her fault based on the photos of the car and just the situation in which her car got hit. But that's the reason that people have insurance. So I agreed with your sentiment about use it. That's its entire purpose. And I think that if he would have come in here and said, okay, I will put it through insurance, but I have a $5,000 deductible, I felt like you might have been more inclined to give him a portion of that, since neither of them were really at fault. They were both victims of a hit and run. But I would have respected that more if he had chosen to use his own homeowner's insurance as opposed to going after another victim. She wasn't at fault, and he knew that.
She really wasn't at fault. Yeah. She really wasn't at fault. And as we discussed a moment ago, the suggestion that she should have gone into the to the left where there was an oncoming traffic rather than veering to the right and hit something that was a stationary object.
It was definitely the safer option. And in that second moment, she was lucky that she made that decision. You never know. Someone else could have lost their life.
Right.
Case 2153, Fawless versus Mixedbot. All parties, please step forward.
Elizabeth Fawless is suing her former friend, Christy Masenbach, for 2 kayaks and an assault.
Miss Fawless, it is your claim you and the defendant were friends, been friends for a while.
Yes.
Your allegations are twofold. First, you say that the defendant assaulted you after a party.
Yes.
You weren't injured as a result of that assault. You didn't seek medical attention, but you said you had some scratches and that she hit you.
Yes.
Okay.
Caption coming up.
So she was on top of me. I was scratching, hitting, pulling, trying to just get away. I don't think she really remembers everything, and it just happened so fast, but I was finally able to leave and get out the home with my daughter safely.
Okay, bad behavior.
I agree.
Bad behavior?
Christy shrugs. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Elizabeth and Christy.
Elizabeth Fawless claims her former friend, Christy Masenbach, owes for 2 kayaks and an assault.
There was no medical treatment. There was some drinking that went on that night.
Yes.
But the thrust of your complaint is that you gave the defendant 2 kayaks that you had purchased.
Correct.
Because the defendant has a piece of property and you didn't have a place to store them, and you asked if you could store them at the defendant's home.
Correct.
She said yes. You're no longer friends after this kerfuffle that took place after a party, and you would like the 2 kayaks back.
Correct.
When did you purchase them?
I bought them on April 29, 2020.
From whom?
This lady and her mother were selling them on Facebook Marketplace. They were moving out of state, and her mom couldn't take them with her. So I have the messages of those 2, but I bought them on Facebook.
And how much did you pay?
$320, or $350, sorry.
For both of them or each?
For both of them.
And when did you begin storing them at the defendant's?
I brought them over the next day after I bought them, because I live in an upstairs apartment. I had nowhere to keep them. So she has a house that she lives in, so it was a better situation for them.
Where are you living now?
I still live in an upstairs apartment.
Where are you going to put the kayaks?
I was planning on storage, or maybe find a family member who has a home to take them to. But to basically probably buy a storage.
That's pretty expensive to keep them in storage. If you paid $350 for the 2 of them 2 years ago. Have you used them in 2 years?
I bought them this year, this April 2022.
Oh, 2022.
Sorry, yeah, 22.
Okay. Have you used them?
Yeah, I use them often with my daughter. She's 5 and autistic.
Have you used them with the defendant?
No.
Have you used the kayaks?
Personally, I have not yet. I haven't had the chance to.
Just a second, you have not?
I have not yet, no.
Okay, you acknowledge the fact that the plaintiff, who was then your friend, brought them over for you to store. You're not friends anymore. She wants them back. Why not?
So I would like to kind of go back to the beginning where like the assault happens, just so that you can kind of understand.
I'll get to this.
Okay.
The assault is not the important part of this case.
Okay. So the kayaks, originally, it was a deal that if I was to keep them at my house, that we could both use them. When she wanted them back, I just didn't necessarily feel like that was fair because the original agreement was that they were kind of almost both ours. I just didn't have the opportunity to use them yet.
Okay. All right. Well, now you're not friends anymore. Now she wants them back. So she's going to pick up the kayaks within 5 days. If you don't pick them up within 5 days, you're out of luck. Do you understand?
I understand.
Okay, good. So within 5 days from today's date, we'll prepare an order. You can pick up the kayaks. Now, you want to proceed with the assault part of your case?
Yes.
Okay. Show me pictures of what the injuries were that you sustained.
I don't have any photos. I had a different phone at the time, and...
Just a second, so you don't have any photos. Do you have any medical reports?
I don't.
Okay. This alleged assault happened on what date?
It was August 17th, 2022.
Were you both out that night, or were you having a party in a house?
So what happened was her girlfriend had cheated on her, and they broke up, and she invited me and a couple other friends to the home where we were there. My daughter was also there, where we were hanging out, we were talking, trying to have a good time because she was having such a bad time. And I ended up falling asleep at some point. I went to go sleep with my daughter in the room. Everybody had left maybe around 12 a.m. And she came into the room wanting to talk, wanting someone to be there with her. But I was asleep. I'm not a very happy person to be woken up to. So I told her no, like we'll talk in the morning. She wasn't okay with that. She started getting mad, so she started getting upset, and my daughter was next to me, so I was like, well, then I'm gonna leave. And so I tried to walk out. She grabbed me, she threw me to the ground. She's stronger than me, so she was on top of me. I was just scratching, hitting, pulling, trying to just get away. My daughter was screaming and crying. She's autistic, so she doesn't really understand what was going on, but she was highly upset. She was screaming no. And I was eventually able to like get up and try to leave. She followed me to the garage. I just tried to push and try to just get away from her, but I don't think she really remembers everything, and it just happened so fast. But I was finally able to leave and get out the home with my daughter safely.
Okay, good. Okay, bad behavior. Bad behavior.
I agree.
Bad behavior?
Christy shrugs.
Okay. I wish I had a photograph. Okay, within 5 days, pick up your kayaks. Are we done here?
Can I explain my end or no?
What?
Can I explain my end or no?
You did explain your end. You said you didn't think it was fair when she wanted her kayaks back because we were going to use them together. But now you're not going to use them together because you don't like each other anymore. So you're not going to use them together, so she's going to get them back.
Alrighty.
Great. Perfect. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Christy, then Elizabeth.
There was a lot more to the story than happened, but unfortunately, I guess the best outcome would be just to go ahead and give her back her kayak. So
it shouldn't have gone to this point. I should have got him back after the incident. For adults, it should have went way smoother.
There was a lot more insult that happened, like on both ends. It wasn't necessarily the whole full truth.
I think she's just going through a lot with whatever she's going on with her ex, and just I feel like it just got taken out on me.
Because we were like sisters before, and things just kind of, go south, and unfortunately, we lost our friendship over that. So
we've been friends since middle school, so I don't know what the future holds, but I hope maybe one day we can talk and we can work things out.
Only time will tell.
Judy and Sarah.
I think probably the only thing that bothered me in that case was what the 5-year-old was doing out at midnight at a party where people, at a gathering where people were getting...
A breakup party,
A breakup party. Easy case.
Yeah.
Easy.
She paid for him. She gets him back.
Yeah.
Title, Judy Justice.
Are you a victim of an assault? Go to judyjustice.tv. And Brandon Robinson are suing their customers, Aaron and Sandra Lang, for property damage and loss of income.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Case 2152, Robinson versus Lane.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Tabitha.
How long have you been in the business of renting party equipment?
We've been in the business about 2.5 years.
And when you started the business by purchasing how many pieces of equipment?
We purchased 3 used units.
3 used?
Yes, obstacle courses, and we rented them out, and then we saved the money and then progressed renting them out and getting more.
Now, the jumper that you rented to the defendants.
Yes, ma'am.
Was one that you bought used or one that you bought new?
I bought it new.
When?
I bought it on 7/19/21. I have the receipt for it.
I'd like to see it, please.
Tabitha hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Okay, and what you rented from them was a 38-foot obstacle course.
We didn't rent from them.
Who did?
Some friends of ours did. They used our property for their daughter's Sweet 16. They paid the Robinsons. They signed the rental agreement. We did not.
Is that correct?
Sandra is actually the one that handed me the cash.
Did somebody sign a rental agreement?
Yes.
Who was it?
It's a lady. Her name is...
Okay, so let me understand that this is... let me frame it. You rented this piece of equipment, which is a 38-foot obstacle course, to someone whose name is... And according to your complaint, it was returned damaged.
Yes.
You say it can't be repaired, although you tried to patch it.
Right.
And you want the cost of a new obstacle course. And while you paid $4,500, you want $9,000.
Well, I have a list of loss of rentals because people...
You're not entitled to that. Okay. More important, I want to know how you think if these people were not signatories to your rental agreement, why would you sue them?
When we went there...
May I see that, please, by the way, while she's telling me the story?
Kevin retrieves a document from Tabitha.
When we went there to drop it off, we did all the... I dealt completely with Sandra. They run a business in their property, which is for parties. She said they do cigar club parties, they do Sweet 16 parties on their property.
Okay, got it. You do this as a business?
So, yes, we run...
The answer is yes.
Yes.
You use your home property. Is it your home property that you use?
Yes.
So you have a large enough piece of property that other people who want to make parties for their children do them at your house.
Yes.
So you took physical custody of this.
No.
Who did?
The renters, the people...
No. It's physical custody, not legal custody. We're not talking about legal custody. You took physical custody and put it on your property.
The people that signed the original rental agreement were on the property at the time that they dropped it off.
I don't care. It was on your property.
Yes, it was on our property.
So that's a yes.
Yes.
So it was on your property, but used by somebody else, and they were just using your property.
Yes.
Is that correct?
I had it rented out on Sunday. So when I dropped it off, I told Sandra that we would have to come at 6:30 in the morning to pick it up, to clean it and deliver it the next day. She agreed to that because normally we don't leave it overnight if it's going out the next day because we need to sterilize it. When we got there at 7 in the morning, we came in and we were getting ready to pick up the 38-foot obstacle. I noticed that the dogs had chewed, and there are 2 dogs, a boxer and another dog, were still running around and lifting their leg and urinating on the bouncer. We told her, your dog ate our obstacle. There's pieces of the vinyl, which I have pictures of it, where your dog just ate it.
Have pictures of our dog chewing it?
Just a second. I don't want to hear you again. I tried to ignore you quietly and figured you'd get the message. You don't shout out here. Go ahead.
My husband said, excuse me, miss, we have a problem. Your dogs have eaten our obstacle. So then she went in to go and get her husband. Her husband came out. He signed paper saying he was responsible for loss of rentals and the damages or replacement of it.
May I see it, please?
Yes. And also he sent text messages to our phone that same morning apologizing and saying he would do everything to replace it, plus a loss of rentals that we were going to lose.
I'd like to see those texts, and I would like to see his signature on a piece of paper assuming responsibility.
And then...
Just a second.
Tabitha hands documents to Kevin.
And here's the text messages.
Oh, would you show this to Mr. Lang, please? Yes. Did you sign that, sir?
Aaron reviews a document.
Yes.
Okay.
I signed it under distress.
Under distress?
Under distress.
There's no such thing. You mean duress?
Duress. She was...
Just a second. There's a difference between distress
the rest.
Okay. At 7:29 a.m., you said, I, Aaron Lang, recognize and acknowledge that a jumper obstacle course has been damaged from a dog. I will take care of the repairs and work with the rental company and its owners to get this resolved ASAP. And then about 15 minutes later, you wrote, I'm so sorry again. Let me know when you drop it off, please. Okay, so you tried to drop it off the next day.
I was trying to drop it off the next day to Albert, our repair guy.
Just a second, just answer my question. It doesn't require a long answer. The next day, you were trying to get it resolved, and you're back and forth with him, let me know, et cetera, and then you don't hear from him.
No.
Then it stopped. Tried calling you, I tried messaging you to get this resolved.
Yes.
Okay, well, Mr. Lang, there's no question. You acknowledged the damage and you agreed to pay for it. That's what you have. Can I have that back?
Kevin brings a document to Judy.
You acknowledged in here that you would take full responsibility for this. What's your defense?
My defense is when they arrived on the property to pick up their jumper that was left unaccounted for overnight.
No. When they arrived.
So when they arrived and they announced to us that there was damage to their obstacle course.
Well, they came to you first.
Correct.
Is that, don't speak. They came to you first.
Yes.
You came outside.
Yes.
Okay, and when you came outside, you had a conversation with whom?
I believe Miss Robinson.
With Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Okay, and what did you say to her and what did she say to you?
She just went hysterically, like upset that the jumper was damaged, and that's when I went inside and
Just a
dropped
second.
my husband.
What did she say?
She just started crying, and she
started to cry.
Yeah, and she's like, your dog's damaged my obstacle course.
Just a second. So she was crying?
Yes.
And did you have any issue when she said to you, your dog's damaged my obstacle course? Did you see what was bitten off from the obstacle course? That's either a yes or a no. The answer is yes. Okay. What kind of dogs do you have?
A German Shepherd and a Boxer.
And where had you stored this unit overnight?
It was left outside.
In the backyard, in the front yard?
We live on a huge ranch, so it's a 2.5 acre parcel. And it's been known that our neighbor dogs always hop
I don't want to hear neighbor dogs. I don't want to hear coyotes. I don't want to hear bears.
Whitney grins. Caption, coming up.
My witness, he
Just a
is the repair
second.
guy.
Stand up, sir. I don't need an explanation of this. I'm not going into the repair jumper business. Thankfully, I have a job, and I'm too old to learn anything new.
And later today.
You have the phone.
I do. To this day, I am still paying for the data for that phone.
That's a lie.
Just a second.
I literally
Just a second. Cut off your data, let her get her own plan.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Tabitha, Brandon, Aaron, and Sandra.
Tabitha and Brandon Robinson claim their customers, Aaron and Sandra Lang, refused to pay the costs of repairs after damaging their jumper house.
Okay, now I'm going to get back to you. So now your wife comes in to get you, and you went outside.
Yes.
And?
I go outside.
Who else is there?
Just my wife and I.
So just the two of you?
Just the two of us were home.
And they were there?
And they were there.
Both of them?
Equipment. Yes.
Okay.
And their daughter.
Okay, and?
I go outside. Miss Robinson is completely hysterical, crying, just out of control in hysterics.
Okay.
Her husband's yelling, screaming, profanity.
No, tell me. Oh, I want you to tell me exactly. No. I want you to tell me exactly. She's crying, and he starts yelling.
Yes.
Well, you came out and said what to them when you came out? And then I want to hear exactly what was said.
I asked to see the damage, for them to show me what was going on, what had happened. They showed me the damage. We both took pictures. Again,
no, you both
took
pictures. Just a second. So he composed himself long enough to take pictures.
Yes.
And you were composed enough to take pictures.
Yes, I was.
Which you have.
Yes.
And then what happened?
Throughout there screaming.
No, I want you to tell me. Now you're taking pictures, and?
Brandon is on the phone with their repair guy of some sort.
Okay, so he's on the phone. He's composed enough to be on the phone. Now, before he got on the phone with his repair guy, did you discuss with him your responsibility to take care of the damage? That's either yes or a no.
Yes.
Yes. So once you said, I'll take care of the damage, he got on the phone with his repair guy.
Before I agreed to take care of the damages, before we discussed that, he was already on the phone with the repair guy.
Okay, and then he got off the phone, but you signed this the same day. So I want to know when in this conversation you signed it. You need something to lean on. Somebody has to give you a piece of paper. Somebody has to get a pen.
I did not fill out that piece of paper.
You don't have to.
Tabitha is the one that filled out the piece of paper in their vehicle.
Who did?
Miss Robinson is the one that filled it out in her vehicle.
Okay,
and then
so
handed
just
it to
a
me to
second.
sign.
So she got in her vehicle.
Crying in hysterics.
I don't care. She got in her vehicle, and where was her husband?
Outside loading the bouncer.
So he was outside.
Yes.
She went inside her vehicle, and he was busy.
Yes.
And you live in a house.
Yes.
And you felt pressured.
Yes.
You felt as if you were being extorted.
Bullied, yes.
Did you go inside to call the police?
No, I did not. I should have.
Yeah, but you didn't.
I did not.
You went over to the truck where she was hysterical. She wrote out this document, right?
Yes.
And you signed it.
Yes, I did.
There we go. Make my life very easy. Did your repair guy try to fix the bouncer?
I do have a receipt where we did have it, tried to get it temporary patch where we paid $600 just to make sure we could still rent it out. So that was paid for. This is my repairman. He is my witness. And then also I do have a paper with an estimate of what it would be to repair the obstacle.
May I see it, please? After he did this job, which he did on October 4th, from the 3rd to the 4th, did you rent it out?
No, we tried to, but I have pictures that I brought of what happens when the air flows through. The patches won't stay. You have to go up inside the bouncer and actually put a patch on the inside and the outside, and it would cost more money. My witness he
Just
is
a
the
second.
repair guy that can
What
tell you.
you're telling me is that your witness prepared this estimate of what it would cost to repair the jumper.
Yes.
Stand up, sir. I don't need an explanation of this. I'm not going into the repair jumper business. Thankfully, I have a job, and I'm too old to learn anything new. Did you prepare this estimate to fix the jumper?
Yes, ma'am. That is the full estimate to repair it properly.
To do it properly?
Location. Yes.
Okay.
The first one was the temporary repair.
Listen, I got it. I'm a fast learner, and anybody who watches this program better learn to think fast too, because I have a lot of things to do today. So you prepare this. So for $2,500, in addition to the $600, did they pay you the $600? Yes. So in addition to the $600, so in total, $3,100 would fix the jumper.
Correct.
Great. That's what you agreed to pay, sir. You agreed to do the repairs on the jumper. Now, you want a new jumper. You're not going to get a new jumper. You're not going to get damages for lost income. He's going to fix the jumper. How long is it going to take you?
Roughly about 2 days. 2 to 3.
2 days. Piece of cake. $3,100. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I don't owe them anything. I didn't rent the bouncer
I'm just happy that we're going to have our bouncer repaired.
because they're money hungry.
They're looking for a payday.
The truth always comes out, and what's right is what's right.
Sarah.
So initially, after reading the papers, I thought the plaintiffs, while perfectly matched in their tops, were suing the wrong people because these people didn't sign the rental agreement. So any damage or any agreement to pay damage, I was with you from the beginning that these are the wrong people. It came out that they had a little bit more involvement, the defendant, than they wanted.
They agreed to pay.
Exactly. He knew he did the wrong thing. He probably saw his dog destroy the jumper from the kitchen window and felt bad and knew that it was his responsibility. I don't think that they deserve $9,000 for a brand new jumper, but they deserve to get it fixed and to keep making money off of it.
Right.
Case 2178, Glad versus Sawbird. All parties, please come forward.
Serenity Glad is suing her ex-girlfriend, Jennifer Sawbird, for unpaid loans.
Ms. Glad, if my memory is correct, you are suing the defendant for a series of small loans that you claim she owes you for, and those loans were created, according to you, during a period of time that you and the defendant were either involved in a relationship and or engaged.
Yes.
How long do you know each other?
We've known each other since May of 2021.
And there came a time when the defendant came to live with you, or you went to live with the defendant?
I moved to Colorado to live with her.
And when was that?
That was in May of 2022.
When you moved in with her to Colorado, were you working?
Not at the time, no.
What kind of work did you do in Colorado?
I was unemployed.
How'd you support yourself?
A friend of the family helped me out due to my disabilities.
Who pays your rent?
The friend of the family.
Do you own a car?
I did.
Do you now?
No.
Are you working now?
Not at the moment, no.
Prior to that?
I was out in Colorado.
Working?
Yes.
For whom?
It was a local coffee shop.
Okay. Now you're living together, you are a couple at some point, you became engaged, and then something happened. What happened is probably irrelevant. What I want you to tell me is, from the point that you moved in, what loans do you claim you made to her?
I had paid part of a vet bill.
When was that?
That was at the end of May. I have the invoices here.
And what makes that a loan?
Because at the time she didn't have money and she had agreed to pay me back when she had gotten a job.
Did you agree to pay her back for this vet bill when you got a job?
No, ma'am. The friend of the family was going to pay for it all, but she insisted on paying it.
Tell me about that.
So in the vet office, I was messaging the friend of the family, and he was willing to pay it in full. And she was like, no, I'm going to pay for it. You need to quit asking him for money. I was like, he is the person that supports me right now. We do not have the money, so he's going to help us. She said that she would pay for half of it, I believe it was.
For half?
For half.
Okay.
So it was like $100.
How much was it?
$170.
Let's keep moving on.
Caption, coming up.
I've been paying my data on my phone, and she keeps turning it off.
Just a second. I can't help you with that.
I understand.
You know, I'm not one of those, what do they call them, geniuses?
Genius bar.
Yeah, I'm not a genius person. Not with phones anyway.
Whitney smirks. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Serenity and Jennifer.
Serenity Glad claims her ex-girlfriend, Jennifer Sauber, refuses to pay back loans given to her during their engagement.
Now, what other loans do you think she owes you for?
I had bought her tires for her car.
When?
That was on June 17th, I believe.
Were you using the car?
I was using the car.
Okay. For how long were you using the car?
About 2 months.
And what were you using the car for?
Getting to work.
So at that point, it was as much your vehicle as it was hers, because she wasn't working. So you took the car to work?
Yes.
And the car needed tires?
Yes.
And?
So I ended up paying for them just for safety reasons, given that.
Well, it's your safety. You were driving it, right?
That's true, yes.
Let's move on. Next loan.
On top of that, I had to pay for vet insurance for her dog.
She didn't have to.
Just a second.
Sorry.
And then even after I had left Colorado, she asked me to leave her dog on the plan and just pay me.
You have your own animals?
No.
No. So after you left Colorado, when you were no longer a couple, did you request that she continue to pay for the vet insurance? That's either a yes or a no.
I don't remember.
Well, she says you did. How many months did you pay after you left Colorado? Show me. After you left her, you were no longer a couple. How many months did you pay?
I had ended up paying.
Just the months?
2 months.
And how much were those 2 months?
$71.46.
What's next?
After that, the biggest one is the phone that she has.
Tell me, when you got the phone, when she got a new phone, because I assume she had a phone, is that right?
I actually had just bought a brand new phone, and I insisted that I didn't need a new one.
What kind of phone did you buy?
iPhone 11 mini.
And?
I got the phone, and I have a hard time seeing, and I didn't have glasses, and I was like, it would be nice to have a larger phone. We actually originally went to get us on the same plan. I was going to keep my same phone, but I was looking at the phone. She was like, well, let's both just get new phones. I was like, that's not a good idea. She was like, well, let's just get them. It's fine. So I traded in my old phone for about $400, and we got the phone, and the agreement was, since I traded in my old phone, I still had to pay off the old phone because I just got it. So the agreement was I pay off my old phone, and to keep the service on, I would pay for my service and my data, and she would pay off the phone itself. That was our original agreement. And then a few weeks later, she's like, I never said that.
Okay. How much did you end up paying for her phone?
As of currently, there is $575 paid on her phone.
Do you still have that phone?
I do.
Can I see that there's $575 left on her phone? Not because you got two when you got new phones. So just hers.
I have this.
Is that for one phone?
That is
or
just
two?
for one phone, yes.
Serenity hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Okay, would you show this to the defendant, Kevin, please? And you have the phone.
I do.
And you're not paying for it?
I'm paying for the service, for what we
Service,
agreed
I'm
on.
not talking about service. That receipt is for one phone.
Yes.
It says your phone was a little over $1,000.
Yes.
What was put down on the phone was almost $400. There was some payments made, and what's still owing on the phone is $514. That's what it says.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. And you have the phone?
I do.
Great. So 7146 and 514 is 585. Anything else?
To this day, I am still paying for the data for that phone.
That's a lie.
Just a second.
I literally
Just a second. Cut off your data, let her get her own plan. She'll go in, she'll get her own plan. Right now, what's due and owing on the phone is 514. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been paying my data on my phone, and she keeps turning it off.
Just a second. I suggest you get a new plan. You have your phone, get another
I've been trying to, but she keeps...
I can't help you with that.
I understand.
You know, I'm not one of those, what do they call them, geniuses?
Genius boy.
Yeah, I'm not a genius person. Not with phones anyway. Okay, 7146 and 514. My math is almost correct. It's $585.46. That's what she owes you.
$400
for the
of that
plaintiff.
is
We're
from my
finished.
old phone.
Judgment for the plaintiff. That's what she owes.
Okay.
That's what she owes on it. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I'm okay with it.
I do think it was a very fair hearing.
I'm okay with it because I, just want things to be all right between us because she's still my best friend and I still love her.
I mean, I feel the same way, I do love her. She's my best friend. Same exact thing. I just hope things smooth over.
Sarah.
So I think naturally when you're engaged to be married to someone or when you're married or even in a very serious relationship for a year, you don't keep a laundry list of expenses. I took you to dinner this night for our anniversary, here's your half. We went on vacation, here's your half. So it makes it that much more important when you're in a serious relationship like that because in the eyes of the law, those things are sort of a wash in a relationship. So if you believe that something is really a loan, that you've both decided as partners, I know we're together, I know we do things together that we both cover the expenses and pay for, but this $1,000 phone is outside the scope of that relationship. Let's just write something down so that we remember that although we're together, this was a loan. It makes it all that much more important because...
And simple.
And simple, because otherwise the law is going to look at your relationship first and determine, is it one of those washed dinners or is it something that was legitimate? So it would just make it a lot simpler and if things don't work out in the end, easier for you to get your money back.
I think you're right.
Thank you.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. Laws is suing her niece, Janelle Laws, and her stepdaughter, Ari Scales, for the costs of a car.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case 2130, Laws versus Law, Scales.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Laws, this young woman is your niece.
Yes.
And this young lady is the ward of your niece.
Yes.
You have guardianship over her. Is she related to you?
No, she's related to my wife.
Okay. But you have guardianship.
We both do.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
You had an automobile.
Yes.
It was an automobile that you allowed your niece to use, and it was at her house.
Yes.
That was in September of 2020. Her car was in the shop, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, your niece went out of town for a while?
Yes.
Do you remember what date that was?
October 17th of 2020.
And prior to your going out of town, had Miss Scales ever driven the car?
No.
Had you ever given her permission to drive the car?
No.
And Miss Scales, there did come a time in October of 2020 that you took the car.
Yes.
Tell me how you managed to get a hold of the car.
So the keys, we have a key hook in the front of our house, and I just used the keys there.
Did you ask anyone?
No.
Tell me why.
I had a scare that I was afraid to do by myself.
What kind of scare?
A pregnancy scare.
Okay. So you took the car to go where?
To who I was dating at the time.
What time of the day did you take the car?
Between the times of 4 and 6 p.m.
And at what time did you have an accident with the car?
I would say between 7 and 8 p.m.
Had you already seen the boyfriend?
No.
Where were you between 7 and 8? Where were you
Driving.
going? Driving to who?
To the boyfriend.
Oh, so it takes a while to get there?
Yes.
How long?
About an hour.
In any event, you had an accident.
Yes.
The car was totaled. You had insurance?
Yes.
And had you told your niece that you had insurance on the car?
Yes.
Okay. Because she says that you had told her you had insurance on the car and you had a loan on the car. There was a note.
That's correct.
So when she borrowed the car, she knew it was insured. Did you also tell her that you had the gap insurance?
Yes.
And what year, make, and model of car was it?
A 2015 Mitsubishi Mirage.
Did you buy it new or used?
Brand new.
And how long was the loan on the car?
6 or 7 years. I think it was 6.
So by 2020, you had paid up most of the car.
Yes.
What was the balance left on the car?
I'm not exactly sure the exact balance that was left on the car.
Okay. How much did you pay for the car?
I paid $17,000. That's what it was financed at, so that's not with the finance charges.
Okay, so you paid $17,000. How much of a down payment did you put down?
I didn't put any money down on it.
So in 5 years, between 2015 and 2017, you paid off about 80% of the car.
Yes.
What's the car worth now?
Based on 75,000 miles in good condition, I'm seeing between $5,500 and $7,500.
Okay. Now, after the accident, you put in a claim through your insurance.
Yes.
And your insurance covered how much?
The insurance paid out $7,379.
They wrote a check to the bank?
Yes, ma'am.
And can I see the paperwork on that, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Because what you're suing for now is another $8,496.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Okay, so your insurance also paid on the other car that you had the accident with. You had an accident with a Ford Focus?
Yes.
Okay, so they paid $2,900 on that, and they paid you $7,379.
Yes, ma'am.
And show me what the note balance was on the car at the time that they paid this out, which would have been sometime in 2020 or maybe 21.
You want the balance after they paid out or before they paid out?
Both.
Okay. This is after they paid out.
And before.
I don't have a copy of what it was owed on before the accident.
Oh, I need a whole payout because what your niece says is that they paid you the value of the car, which clearly it was the value of the car, because the value of the car, according to Sarah, is between $5,000 and $7,000. They paid you $7,379, which clearly covered a substantial part of your note. Mm-hmm. What the defendant is saying is that during COVID, for financial reasons, you had requested that the payments be put on hold.
Right.
And that you not make any payments on the car, and that the interest would continue to accrue.
Right.
And that's not her fault. You asked to have the payments put off, but you drove the car. You had the benefit of driving the car all during COVID.
Right.
And she shouldn't be penalized. The insurance company paid out what the car was worth. These additional charges are because you put off making the payments during COVID, and it also accrued that interest. That's your defense. Am I right?
Yes.
That I have to see.
Okay.
I don't want to hear it. I want to see it.
The paper that you have there, that's from, it shows that a payment was made on that car on September 4th, 2020, and that was the last payment that was made. So if there were no payments being made during that time that she had the car, it was.
That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, when COVID started, did you put the payments on hold?
I did, because I was no longer working, so they gave me the option to delay my payment, which means they tack them on to the end.
I understand that, but you were driving the car. You were driving the car. She's not going to pay for that.
She had the car from the beginning of September, and she was only supposed to have it for 3 days when her car got fixed.
It doesn't matter. First of all, you didn't bring me the documentation that I need. You didn't bring me what was actually owed on the car and what was owed on the car and how much was owed as a result of your deferring payments and interest.
When I did the stop payments on the car, it was before she even borrowed it.
Well, that may be, madam, but if what you're telling me is you started to pay again, you still drove the car when you deferred payments.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, well, that's not her responsibility.
But the balance that's left on the car, they paid what the value of the car was. They said that they don't pay finance charges. So there was a balance of 37.
Well, the finance charges were finance charges that accrued, and you don't have the paperwork for me here.
$3,700 worth of finance charge for 2 months?
No, that's not for 2 months. I don't know what the finance charges were for. It doesn't say that. You don't have the paperwork here. You don't have the right paperwork. So you have to understand something. What you're suing her for is $8,496. First of all, The car is only worth $5,000. You got $7,300 that the insurance company paid directly to the lender. And I don't have what you owed here before the accident. I don't have that, and the payments that you deferred. If you deferred payments prior to that time, that's your responsibility.
But I only deferred payments for 3 months. That's not going to
Just a
amount
second.
to $3,700.
I have no idea. You should have brought the paperwork. This is not that paperwork.
So I'm out of a whole car. Like, I've invested almost $10,000 into this car. I let her use the car, and
that's what insurance for.
And now I'm just not out only the $3,700. Now it's been late charges and other charges on that, and now it's $6,000 that's on my credit.
You deferred the payments. I can't tell how many months you deferred the payments. You said maybe I deferred it 3 payments. I don't know. You didn't bring me the paperwork.
I deferred.
You can't tell me.
Caption coming up.
If she would have never had the car, then I would have been responsible totally to pay all of that amount. It's cost me more than just this amount that's still on my credit.
She didn't do anything wrong so far. I mean, you have a 21-year-old girl who shouldn't have taken the car keys without permission.
And later today,
you write to her that you saw her take some stuff, and you say to her, so don't tell me you don't steal from me. Friends don't steal from friends, so I won't burn you for what I borrowed. You should think twice before you steal from, because I could say, I'm not giving you nothing.
A woman shakes her head. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jennifer, Janelle, and Ari.
Jennifer Laws claims her niece, Janelle Laws, and her stepdaughter, Ari Scales, owe the balance on her car after Ari totaled it in an accident.
She says you deferred the payments. That was the reason for these overages, which I can understand, because otherwise the insurance company, and if you had gap insurance, which you say you did, would have paid any gap between the loan.
My gap insurance was only until a certain amount of time, and then after that, the gap insurance only pays a certain amount.
I don't know any of that. What I need from you, you didn't bring. You brought only what was necessary to put forth your position. I need what was owed on the car, and for past due payments with accrued interest, and for current payments. And you don't have that. So far, all I know is you had full insurance on this car, and the full insurance was paid. And if there was a reason that the insurance company, for some reason, didn't pay an amount of money, I don't have an explanation of that here in what you gave me, except the explanation that she offers, which was during COVID, you deferred your payments and the interest was accruing, and that the insurance company was not going to pay because that was done prior to October.
That's not
2020.
That's not true. I deferred 1 or 2 payments.
Well, 2 minutes ago, was that 3 payments?
Because, ma'am, I'm sorry. Let me just explain that. During this time, April 2020, I lost my mother to COVID. So I had 2 cars. I had the pink car, and I had the car that I gave to my mom, which is a black car, which was also in my name, that I was responsible for. The car that I put the deferred payments on was the Kia Optima. That's the one that I put the deferred payments on. This car, I had a couple late payments, but I never stopped paying that car note.
I can't tell you. You don't have the paperwork. All that I can tell you is the insurance company paid everything that they were supposed to pay, including the gap insurance for this accident. So I can't help you.
Did not pay.
Listen to me. I'm not going to repeat myself. This doesn't tell me how much you owed prior to the accident and what it was for. And if it shows that all you owed currently prior to the accident, it had to show that that was $73.79 and it included the gap insurance. You may have had old finance fees that had nothing to do with her.
The gap insurance never paid.
I can't help you, madam. You don't have the right paperwork.
If she would have never had the car, then I would have been responsible totally to pay all of that amount. But because I don't have a car, it disrupted my life. It's cost me more than just this amount that's still on my credit.
She didn't do anything wrong so far. I mean, you have a 21-year-old girl who shouldn't have taken the car keys without permission. But the car was there, and it was there with your permission, and there's no question that the accident was her fault.
I have been asking her to return my car.
If you have the proof, the only thing I want you to show me is a document from your lender which says how much was owed at the time of the accident and for what. Do you have that?
I don't, because I didn't think that I needed it.
Okay, well, then I can't help you. Today's a court day. This is the day you have.
I have a ton of evidence here.
Madam, you don't have the evidence that I need. Your request for $9,000 for a $5,000 car in which you've already been paid $7,300 is ridiculous. So all I have to see is how much was deferred and the interest on the accrued that you deferred while you were using the car before she had it for this 5 or 6 weeks that she had it in September. If you have that, I'll look at it. If you don't have it, I'm not interested. Do you have
the paperwork that you have?
Well, then I'm going to give it back to you, and you're going to show me where it shows here in October of 2020 how much you owed on the car and how much were past payments and finance charges based on the last payments.
Jennifer reviews the documents.
You understand what you gave me? If I could make this as simple as possible for you, if you never loaned her the car, if you had the car for that 5-week period and you had an accident with the car during that 5-week period, you would be in the exact same position you are now. The company would have paid off what they paid and would not have paid off what you still owed them because you deferred payments. It doesn't matter who was driving the car.
And I do understand
okay,
that.
good.
And
I'm glad you understand. I'm glad you understand it.
My car.
I'm glad you understand that. Your case is dismissed. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Jennifer, then Ari and Janelle.
She needed to borrow my car.
It was just a bad accident. It was just me, young, got into an accident.
So I thought that I was helping her. You know, so when this balance is due, I'm the one that's out.
The car hit me and ran the light and it hit me.
You know, I'm the one that suffered. I'm the one that got to pay all of that money.
I'm fine.
So I don't think that it was fair at all.
Judy and Sarah.
So for a period of time, let's say 6 or 7 months, her numbers kept changing. First it was 3 months she didn't pay, and then it was 1 or 2 months that she didn't say, and she may have been late a little bit. Well, the insurance company's not going to give you credit for that. And it didn't look to me, based on the papers, that there was any animus between the parties until
right now.
Today. And then maybe she should be angry with me and not at them. They all know each other and get along with each other. So that the amount of money she has to pay is the amount of money she should have paid while she was driving the car but chose to defer.
And I think that that's a good lesson about deferring payments, especially now with COVID and everything. I know people my age, 25, around there, have been deferring payments, whether it be for car notes or for interest on your loans, things like that, that sometimes she didn't even realize that this was all accruing under the surface. So you think that by deferring, if you don't read the fine print, that could be a good lesson that
yeah,
if
and she said she had a lot of other things going on in her life, but that...
And again, it was an accident. We don't call it an on purpose.
That's
so.
Right.
Case 2133, Morrissey versus Comer. All parties, please come forward.
Tabitha Morrissey is suing her former friend, Tina Comer, for an unpaid loan and personal belongings.
Ms. Morrissey, you have a lot of claims here against the defendant for a personal loan and the value of personal belongings.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. She was a friend of yours. You used to go gambling together, Ms. Morrissey?
Yes, we did.
How many times a week did you go gambling?
Probably once or twice a week.
And did you go just the two of you?
Yes.
And over what period of time?
Over...
A year, 2, 3?
Probably a year.
There was a time when you went, and according to you, Ms. Comer didn't have any money. And so you agreed to advance her money. And she says, actually, you agreed to advance her money. And the agreement was if you won, she would pay you back with her winnings, whatever it was. Whatever it was. How much money did you give her to gamble?
I loaned her $230 with the agreement that she would pay me an extra $200 because she was going to get her mother's inheritance.
Okay. On what date?
April 28, 2022.
Okay. And you went gambling with her?
No. She came by and we were going to go meet at the casino, but I didn't really want to do it because I have a boyfriend that doesn't
Just a second. I don't need a whole story.
Okay. All right. Sorry. So she went to the casino without me, and then she came by my house after that. and told me that she spent her boyfriend's money at the casino, and so that she was supposed to use it at the store. And so I gave her the money to cover that, and that's when we made that agreement.
You gave her the money to cover that because she asked you for it?
Yes.
And she agreed to pay you back?
Yes.
Caption, coming up.
February, did you go to the casino and lose some of your boyfriend's money?
No.
Did you go to her house and tell her that you lost some of your boyfriend?
It wasn't in February.
What month?
It was probably April.
I don't care what month it was. Did you tell her you lost your boyfriend's money at the casino?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Tabitha and Tina.
Tabitha Morrissey claims her former friend, Tina Comer, owes for an unpaid loan and personal belongings.
Judy.
Go.
No, it was in February.
Okay, February.
I won a jackpot.
Just a second. February, did you go to the casino and lose some of your boyfriend's money?
No.
Okay. Did you go to her house and tell her that you lost some of your boyfriend?
It wasn't in February.
What month?
It was probably April.
I don't care what month it was. Did you tell her you lost your boyfriend's money at the casino?
$30 of it.
Judy glares at Tina.
Okay. But in February, I won a jackpot. And I didn't have my license with me because I lost my wallet. And they told me I had to come back with my license to get it.
I don't want to hear you.
Sorry.
So I asked Tabitha if she would take me back up to get my jackpot money, and I would pay her the money that I owe her, plus give her $60 for gas. And that's when I paid her the money back. And then her boyfriend also, there's some guy that she brought up there with us, asked if he can borrow some money because he said Tabitha said she'll pay me back. So I gave him $100 too.
When you came back and told her that you had lost some of your boyfriend's money, according to you, it was $30, not $230.
Yeah, it was $30. I already paid her the $2-something when she took me to Cass Creek in February.
Oh, that was before.
Yeah, so I didn't owe her no money. But I paid her back in February, the money that I did owe her. I got proof of it too.
I'd like to see it.
And I got proof that, okay.
Take it out. I'll see whatever proof you have over this loan.
Okay, yes.
Tabitha and Tina both search through piles of documents.
Come on, let's go.
Okay, well, here's where I won the money.
Proof. I also got proof of her saying that when she still owed me the money back in May. I got proof of that too.
Casino check. I'm not interested in this.
That's when I won the money.
I don't care.
And the other one shows when I had to go back and pick it up.
I don't care about that either.
And then...
Shh. April 28th. I can loan you some. That's in April.
Yeah, I said April 28th.
So that's when she asks for some money?
Yes.
And that was the $230?
Yes.
I'd like to see what you have.
This is...
That's April. That's not February.
No. That's in June when she told me how it stated what she owed me in cash-wise.
Okay, so on June 11th, Ms. Comer, you write to her that you saw her take some stuff.
Yes.
Some beads, or friends took beads that belonged to you. And you say to her, so don't tell me you don't steal from me. Friends don't steal from friends. So I won't burn you for what I borrowed, which is $230. But I decided I will not give you the other $200. So I'm just not going to give you the extra. That's what it's going to cost you for stealing from me. You should think twice before you steal from, because I could say, I'm not giving you nothing, so I'm only taking back what I was going to give you. We had to sign some more papers, so I should get it any day, and I will text you when I get it. I'm also missing a half box of sunglasses, and that girl is going to get it. She lied saying the hair clippers were hers. I don't care about all that. Okay, I'm going to deal with this loan of $230. And it's clear from your statement, Ms. Comer, although it's usurious interest, and I'm not going to grant you that other $200 because it's outrageous. She's giving you 100% interest on the $230, but you are entitled to your $230 back.
But
okay, because she acknowledges, just a second, she acknowledges the debt on June 11th. Mm-hmm. Now, what about the personal belongings that you say? And don't give me a lot of nonsense. I'm not listening to a lot of nonsense.
Okay, yes. She came to me and said she wanted to do a yard sale, so we were going to do it in May.
Okay, you were supposed to do a yard sale.
Yes.
It worked for a week. It didn't work the next week. What items do you say she has of yours?
She has jewelry of mine.
I'm not listening to jewelry. Show me the insurance receipts for jewelry. Come on. Let's go. What does she have of yours?
I can show you the pictures of her yard sale that does have my stuff in it.
Well, what did she end up with your stuff for? You were there at the yard sale.
I didn't have a car, so she came and picked me up and took me to my storage to go get my yard sale stuff to take over to her house to do it in the yard sale. She was supposed to contact me and come get me when she was getting ready to do the yard sale. I stayed the night at her house, and we were setting up all night long because it was a really big yard sale. It was more like a flea market type thing. And she never contacted me after dropping me back off at home, and she said that my box of jewelry fell out of my stuff when she was loading it up because she fell. So when she got home that night after dropping me off, she said it was in the driveway.
You have that in text
That was my
message?
personal belongings.
You have it?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Okay, hold on.
Thank you.
Tabitha hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews a text message.
So this looks like a lot of cheap plastic crystals.
No, my wedding ring was in that box. I had my box of jewelry with me to go through when I stayed the night at her house, and I was taking out the other jewelry, and the box that was coming with me home, she was loading it up, and she said it fell out of her car. So I don't see how it fell out, but she said it did. So when she got there that night, she said she'd seen it in her driveway. So, I mean, that had my wedding ring in it. And I was in the middle of getting the divorce, but it still means something to me.
$230. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done here. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Tina, then Tabitha.
Everything she said was a lie about the money, about all her stuff. Everything was a lie.
Because she just doesn't want to pay me my money.
She just wants to get money out of me. Because I won 2 jackpots and I got my mother's inheritance.
It hurts very much.
She's done.
I don't even care to see her.
Judy and Sarah.
That was really very simple when you discarded this garage sale and crystal beads listed as some of the items in the text message that were their boyfriends. Tweezers. When you got rid of that, it was actually pretty simple.
Cash loan, $230.
Cash loan, $230 that she acknowledged in June. So, relatively easy.
Yeah.
Some easy.
Some not.
Some not.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. Is suing his former landlords, Diana and Donald Back, for an illegal eviction, security deposits, and an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case 2085, Schumann versus Back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Schumann,
Yes, Your Honor.
I assume this is your wife?
My girlfriend.
Girlfriend.
And my son, Blake.
And your girlfriend is here just for moral support? She wasn't living with you in the house?
She wasn't living with me, no, but she was.
Sit down.
I was a witness.
Sit.
A part of it.
Sit down.
Big part of it.
She was not living at the house?
No.
Just you and your son?
Yes.
And you were tenants of Mr. and Mrs. Back for how long?
I think it was 6 years.
Starting when?
When did I sign the lease?
August 2016.
Don't help him.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, 8/1/16.
And which unit do you rent? Because they also live in the house.
Yeah, it's 3 floors. I have the middle, and the top is just a little loft. Comes with a little loft.
And did you move in there with your son?
No, in the beginning, no. He wasn't with me.
Was it just you?
It was just me.
And when did he move in?
Probably 2 years later.
2018?
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's 15.
Now, in 2016, everything going well with your landlord?
Yeah.
Same landlord?
Yes.
What about 2017?
Everything's good.
Everything's going fine. 18? Must have been going fine because you brought your son in to live with you.
We did have a few incidences that I had to call the police then.
Okay, so in 2018, you had to call the police.
Yes.
When in 2018?
First time Mrs. Back came, and she had a problem with Blake. She said he walked too hard upstairs.
Okay. Now, before Blake came with you, with whom was he living?
With his mother.
How long was he living with his mother?
Since he, you know.
Since he was born?
Yeah, since birth.
And did you visit with him before he came to live with you?
Yeah, I had him every other weekend and Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So something must have happened in 2018 because he's 15 years old, he's in high school. You want to tell me the reason? Angela, I want you to bear in mind, this is my business.
Yeah.
You want to tell me why your son came to live with you? And if you just want to say to me he and his mother weren't getting along, I will accept that.
No, that's not why. She wanted to move to Florida, and she said I could have Blake.
Interesting. Okay, so the first time you started to have trouble was when your son came and Mrs. Back said that he was walking too loud, making too much noise upstairs.
Yeah.
And how did she communicate that with you?
Well, you know, Mr. Back was really the one who had the problem. At night, because Blake would go from his bedroom to the bathroom, and he walked too loud. That was it.
So what did you do?
Well, that was that.
I want to know why you called the police.
Well, why he called the police was because finally, this was the following year when she...
Just a second. So that was it. In 2018, they told you that your son was walking too heavy.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night, going from his room to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Okay, but that didn't require a call to the police. So I'm waiting.
Well,
this is not a well. You call the police. I want to tell you something. I've been a tenant for most of my life. I've never called the police on the landlord. So this is not an answer that starts with well. When was the first time you called the police regarding Mr. and Mrs. Back, and for what reason?
She illegally entered my apartment. She used her key to come into my house.
Okay. Don't speak. I told you not to speak.
Okay, I'm sorry.
When did she use a key to come into your apartment?
What time of the day?
No,
month. The day and,
month?
I don't remember. I mean, I have the police report.
Oh, I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
Well, tell me.
The door was open, Your Honor. Sorry.
What part don't you understand? You want me to just grant his application and say goodbye to you?
I'm sorry. Sorry.
I know I had it. No, I have it, but I...
You have it, but you don't have it.
Well,
Okay, so that was sometime, according to you, in 2018/19, she entered your apartment without your permission using a key.
Yes.
And as a result of that, what happened?
Well, the officer came...
It's not a well.
Yep, the officer
So
came.
she came in and you found out that she'd been in your apartment. How did you...
Yeah, I was upstairs. I was in the apartment and she came in.
Oh, she used her key.
Yeah.
And came in and you were there.
Yes.
Tell me about that incident. So she came in.
She confronted Blake, then I went upstairs.
Just a second. She confronted Blake and you went upstairs. Upstairs from where?
From downstairs. We were coming home. She came running down the block, saw that we were home, and started telling Blake that he walks too loud. You're walking too loud. You're walking too loud.
Just a second. She's in the street.
She was coming. She's coming. She's coming.
You
back.
said you were outside. You were outside. First, you told me, if I'm not mistaken, Whitney, he said he was in the apartment when she came in. Yes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. First, you told me you were in the apartment. That's not accurate. This happened outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it happened outside, and she was yelling at your son that he was walking too loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And now she's outside, coming from the beach. She's telling him, "You're coming inside. Keep going."
Then we went inside. I said, okay.
Just a second.
I said, okay, I'll tell him to walk a little softer, levitate a little bit. And we went inside, and I got onto the phone talking to somebody. I guess she heard me talking, and she opened her key and came up the stairs and started yelling. I wasn't yelling at Blake. I wasn't doing this to Blake. I wasn't doing that to Blake.
All right, next. 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 I'll tell you what this case is about so that everybody understands what this case is about. You're claiming that they illegally evicted you. That's one thing. You claim that they have your security deposit. And what else do you want? You say that there was a simple assault because when yelling at you, one of them spit on you.
It was a lot more than yelling.
I don't care what's yelling. Nobody hit you. That's either a yes or a no.
No.
Caption, coming up.
You panicked.
Yes.
Because somebody was looking for your father and you knew it was the landlord.
No, I didn't. I thought someone was trying to break in.
Blake, let's get real, okay? Let's stop with the scripted scenario that your father is giving you. Because if don't speak.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Daniel, Diana, and Donald.
Daniel Schumann claims his former landlords, Diana and Donald Back, owe for an illegal eviction, security deposit, and an assault. Diana and Donald are countersuing for apartment damage.
Now, illegal eviction, return of security deposit. And you lived there until when?
Until June of this year.
Now, in June, something happened, and that's where your girlfriend has some information, because it was June
3rd.
You are Gina?
Yes.
Perfect. You and Gina were in bed asleep. Does Gina have her own car?
Yes.
Do you have a car?
Yes.
So that's 2 cars.
Yes.
Where are you supposed to park?
Well, we don't have a driveway, so you can park on the street if you want.
Okay, so you weren't parked anywhere near the house?
No, across the street.
Correct?
Yes.
So his cars weren't blocking yours?
Yes, they were.
Where was your car parked?
My car was parked out front behind his disabled spot that he has for himself and only him.
Just a second.
Behind.
There's a disabled parking spot on a public street?
Yes, but it's only his, for his number only. So no one else could park there or they get ticketed and towed.
Even if you're disabled.
Shh.
Yeah, even if you're disabled, you're not allowed.
Did you get a spot assigned to you, sir, assigned to your car because of a disability?
Yes.
What's the nature of the disability?
I had 2 cracked vertebrae in my neck. I dislocated my left shoulder. I have herniated and ruptured discs in my lower back and nerve damage down my left leg.
So you have a place to park?
Yes.
Were you or your girlfriend Gina in any way blocking Mr. and Mrs. Back's car?
No.
Okay. Did you see where they were parked?
Yeah, she was parked on the street in front of the house.
Their car was parked in the street in front of the house?
Yes.
Okay. Go. June 3rd, where was your car?
So my car was parked behind his disabled spot. My husband came in and showed me a ticket that was on my car, and I couldn't understand it because there's no meters or anything. And when I went to look at the ticket, it took me a little time. I checked it. It was for unregistered vehicle. First time in my life I've ever done something like that. I went online right away because I said, I know I did this in April in my mind because I do everything online. Obviously, I never sent it through, and I didn't realize it. Cops in the town have a scanner. They scanned my card, they gave me a ticket. I'm responsible for that. I understand that. But when I spoke to the cop, he said...
No, don't tell me what the cop said.
Well, I can get a ticket every 12 hours. So I panicked. I said, okay, I'm going to try...
Now I understand what's happened.
But I needed to get my car
Just a
off the
second.
road.
So now I understand what happened. She got a ticket parking on the street. And the ticket for parking on the street was for having an unregistered vehicle.
Yes.
Your car was not parked in your designated handicapped spot. Instead, you and Gina were parked in the street.
Yes.
So she came to you to ask you to take your car and put it in your handicapped spot so that she could park in the driveway.
No.
Well,
we just asked for, just needed one of them. Can you see,
Just a
look
sec.
at this picture?
Just a second.
And then you'll understand what I mean.
You asked one of them to move their car?
I tried to just get in touch with both of them at this point, just get their attention.
You said, Miss Back, no to me very fast. I want you to listen to what I said.
To go in. There's 6 parking spots on this lot. So I didn't need him to go in his spot, is what I'm trying to say.
It doesn't matter.
I just needed him
You need to
for me
move?
get through. He could have stayed there the whole night if he wanted to.
Okay. And what time was this?
My husband walked in about 20 to 9. I started to look it up, thinking that something was wrong. By the time I figured that out, then I knocked on the door.
Just a second.
No
Give me a time that you went to his door to knock at the door.
I started knocking on the door about 9 o'clock, a little bit after, maybe 9 o'clock. And then I proceeded to text, and I proceeded to call.
Okay. Now, prior to that, Mr. Schumann, prior to that date, at about 9 o'clock, when was the time immediately prior that you called the police about the behavior or a complaint about Mr. and Mrs. Back?
After.
Shh. Okay. What don't you understand?
When I called the police, it was probably about 9:45.
No, prior to that night, when she wanted you to move your car. When was the time immediately preceding that you called the police about any conduct of Mr. and Mrs. Back?
Yeah, I don't remember the date.
Give me the month and year.
Oh, wow. It was...
So far, we have
maybe
2018.
Maybe 2020.
So that was the second time that you've called the police?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You keep saying that. Okay. 2020. What was that about?
What that was about was she was downstairs with her friends. They were smoking so much marijuana that we couldn't breathe on the 2nd and 3rd floor. And Mrs. Zanino called her and said, you guys gotta knock it off. You gotta stop. We can't breathe up here. Had to open the windows, had to turn on fans, and I had Blake there.
May I see the police report?
That one I don't have. They wouldn't give it to me. They said because...
Just a second. That they said you don't have that police report, but that you called because of smoking marijuana.
Yes.
Okay. And that was the time immediately preceding the call at 9:45 in June of 2022.
Yes.
There were no calls in between.
No.
Is that correct?
One after, but not before.
one after.
2 days later.
2 days after
the altercation. Yeah.
After the altercation. Okay. So now, according to you, you and Gina are in bed, sound asleep at 9 o'clock. Yeah. Where is your son?
He's downstairs on the second floor. That's where his bedroom is.
Okay. But downstairs, when you want to get in, do you get in from the second floor or the third?
Come in the house, you got to come in from the first floor. And then
walk up a flight of stairs. So you have to pass where your son is. Your son is on the second floor.
Oh, yeah. If I'm going up to the loft, the bedroom door is right there. Yeah.
Okay. What's your son's first name?
Blake.
Blake, stand up. Move over next to your father.
Blake rises.
You're 15 years old?
Yes.
15-year-olds don't go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night. June 3rd, 2022. Where were you?
I was in the bathroom.
You were in the bathroom?
Yes.
All night?
No, not all night.
Well, when were you in the bathroom?
Around 9:30.
When did you hear banging on the door?
It was around that time.
It was around 9:30?
Yes.
What did you do?
Well, I didn't know what was going on.
No, you heard banging at the door?
Yes.
Did somebody say something?
Well.
Not well. Look at me. All you have to do is remember this. Don't speak, Mr. Schumann. Don't speak to him.
No, he's nervous.
Don't speak to him. He won't have to be nervous if he tells the truth. So you see, you just have to cool it. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect.
Caption coming up.
There are people who call the police on you all the time. You're going to get down on the ground, kiss the ground, and say, thank God for they're not in my house anymore. Do you understand?
Kind of.
He's happy. What do you mean, kind of?
Well,
what do you mean,
wasn't ready for the change at the time.
Oh, you sound ridiculous.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Daniel, Blake, Diana, and Donald.
Daniel Schumann has accused his former landlords, Diana and Donald Back, of wrongfully evicting him and keeping his security deposit.
You came here. You brought him. Just remember that. You came.
I know.
You brought him. What did you hear when you heard banging at the door?
I heard Don scream, Dan.
You heard Mr. Back?
Yes.
Scream what?
Dan. And.
Dan?
Yes.
And that's your father?
Yes.
How many times did you hear him scream Dan?
Only once.
Once. And are you out of the bathroom?
Well, I did.
That's not an well.
Sorry.
Are you out of the bathroom or still in the bathroom?
I'm still in the bathroom.
Okay, so you're still in the bathroom.
Yes.
Was the door open or closed?
Closed.
Closed. So behind a closed door in the bathroom, you heard Dan from the floor below.
Yes.
Dan. Now, what did you hear after that? Is not an answer. What did you hear after that? Dan. Now, you knew somebody was looking for your father.
Oh, well, I panicked, sort of.
You panicked?
Yes.
Because somebody was looking for your father and you knew it was the landlord?
Yeah.
You knew it was the landlord?
No, I didn't.
You just told me that...
I thought someone was trying to break in.
You mean, just a second. Blake, let's get real, okay? Let's stop with the scripted scenario that your father is giving you. Because don't speak. Because at 9 o'clock at night, if somebody is banging at the door and calling your father's name, then it doesn't sound like a break-in to me. If somebody's banging at my door and somebody is yelling out, Nana, Nana, I know they're not trying to break into my house.
It wasn't.
Do you understand? Do you understand?
It was the whole house was shaking.
Okay.
The entire house.
Mr. Schumann, I'm not speaking to you. Do you understand? You brought this ridiculous lawsuit. You brought this ridiculous lawsuit.
The truth has to be told. I can't tell.
Just a second.
Because they're lying.
Mr. Schumann,
no, you're lying.
Mr. Schumann, you brought this ridiculous lawsuit, except for one thing. I'm finished with you. Sit down.
Blake sits.
No, I wasn't even the one who called the cops at first.
Just a second.
The neighbor across the street called first because...
Mr. Schumann, you have a police report?
Yeah.
Then I'd like to see where the neighbor across the street called the police.
Yeah, that says it in
Just a second. I'd like to see it.
He also called.
Shh.
Okay.
Yeah, when I called, they said someone else has already called.
Give this back. Give this back. They don't understand not to talk. All right. I'm about finished with you. You moved out?
Yes, I was illegally evicted.
Great. It's a great thing that you moved out. It's a great thing that you moved out because you don't want to be with such bad landlords who yell and scream in the middle of the night, who smoke marijuana around your 15-year-old son who would never think of doing that, right? Right?
Yes.
Yes, of course. And so it's a good thing that you found someplace else to go.
Well, it is a good thing.
It's a very, very good thing.
Stress that's off me now.
Perfect. Then it's what we call a mitzvah that you moved out. Okay? The only thing that I'm entertaining on either side is, on your side, the return of your security deposit. Do you understand?
Yes.
How much was your security deposit?
$1,750.
When you left, did you get any of your security deposit back?
No.
What date did you leave?
It was the last day of June.
So it was June 30th. And you paid June's rent?
Yes.
So now you're going to have to explain to me, Mr. and Mrs. Back, and I think I'm going to go to Mrs. Back, why you kept their security deposit.
Well, Your Honor, he signed a lease when he first moved in.
Just tell me why you kept their security deposit.
Because he was asked to give me 60 days notice, written 60 days notice.
Forget it. There are people who call the police on you all the time. You're going to get down on the ground, kiss the ground, and say, thank God for they're not in my house anymore. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Kind of.
He's happy. What do you mean, kind of?
Well,
what do you
I
mean,
wasn't ready for the change at the time. That's why I always ask for 60 days notice.
Oh, you sound ridiculous.
I'm sorry.
You sound ridiculous. Do you understand why she sounds ridiculous? You had very, very bad experience with your tenants. Police were called. I don't know. I've lived in places all my life. Police were never called on me as a tenant. I never called police on a landlord. Out there in the near audience, I want to know how many of you ever called the police about your landlord. Raise your hand. I just want some idea. Raise your hand. Don't tell me the truth. Okay, good. Now, how many ever called the police on a tenant? Look at all this. How many times?
Twice.
Great. Landlord or tenant?
On a tenant.
You called about a tenant?
Yes.
About a disruptive tenant?
Yes.
So, with the exception of Kevin, who is a businessman, entrepreneur when he's not here, taking care of my business here, and he called the police twice because of a tenant. Nobody else has ever called the police, so you should say, thank you, Lord, for getting rid of these tenants who called the police, and not give me baloney about a 60-day notice. Now, if that's why you kept their security deposit, which is what you said to me, then he gets a security deposit back, $1,750. And that's the only reason you gave me.
It's $1,725. But
just a second.
Finish.
1725. You did finish. I said, what was the reason? I asked you twice.
Well,
what was the reason? And what was the reason?
I was letting him go from the 17th when he texted my husband to the 17th. The only thing I wanted in return is access. He said, no, see you in court. So I turned around and held him to his lease.
Very good. Not here. Right. Not here. Okay. $1,750. He gets a security deposit back. $1,750 or $1,725?
It's $1,750.
Take a look. Let's get the number right.
The lease.
This is fascinating.
He signed his lease that says $1,725.
Okay. You have information to the contrary, Mr. Schuman.
No, she's right. $1,725.
$1,725. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done. Counterclaim is dismissed. We're finished. That's it.
Court is adjourned.
Diana, then Daniel.
Judge Judy was right about I should be counting my blessings that they're gone.
It was over a silly parking spot.
I'm glad he's out, but I don't think he deserves his security.
I mean, I couldn't teach him how to levitate. I tried, much as I tried, we couldn't get it.
Sarah and Judy.
I'll never understand why acrimonious relationships between landlords and tenants would wish to continue on for another 30 days, another 60 days, cut your losses and get out of there. And that's what happened. And the defendant's answer that, well, he was supposed to give me 60 days notice. Why would you want him there for another 60 days?
It's called the police on you, as far as we know, at least 3 times.
Yes.
Whatever. It was just a bad scene. And for some reason, he didn't park at his assigned spot because of his handicap. He parked, whatever.
I think everyone should just cut their losses and
move on and be happy. Life is so short.
Yes, agreed.
Be happy.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to Judy Justice.
হিসেবে আসলাম
তাহলে তো
আচ্ছা লাইভ আচ্ছা হ্যালো
মাশাআল্লাহ 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 হ্যাঁ
আপনি কি লাইভে আছেন
আমি হ্যাঁ যে লাইভ করতেছি আমাকে দেখতে পারতেছ না লাইভ করতেছি তো
লাইভের লিংকটা দিতা একটু দেখে আসতাম
এটাই লিংক লাইভের
আরে আমি আমার ডিসকর্ড লাইভ করতে রেকর্ডিং করতেছি
সরাসরি লাইভ ডিসকর্ডে লাইভ চলতেছে
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা আমি ফেসবুকে ইউটিউবে ওখানে না ঠিক আছে
আমি শুধু ফেসবুকে ইউটিউবে করি না, আমি ডিসকর্ডে লাইভ করি শুধু।
আরে ধ্বংসাক্তে ব্যাপার স্যাপার।
মানুষ লাইভ করে ফেসবুকে ইউটিউবে, আবার আমি ডিসকর্ডে লাইভ করে বেড়াই। কি একটা চমৎকার! না আসলে এই জিনিসটা খুবই রেয়ার। হ্যাঁ, আর না ডিসকর্ডে তুমি একটা জিনিস